Man, oh man, welcome back to the POS, the Postgame Overreaction show presented by UGAsports.com. I'm your host, Paul Meharry, joined alongside Jason Butt. Ryan Nabolsi will be here in just a few minutes. Let me go ahead and click this out to the Twitterverse. We are live, folks. And Georgia didn't look alive in the first half, but we are alive now. And they came alive, I guess, in the second half there, Jason. As we do for every show, if you're new here, let us know where you're watching from. We'll shout you out on the live chat here from YouTube. Also, if you're not new, we want to know where you're watching from as well. And if you feel like you need to get some stuff off your chest, this is the time to do it, folks. There is a link in the description. It'll bring you into our virtual waiting room, and then we'll bring you onto the show so that you can talk about these Georgia Bulldogs. Like I said, first half was not great. Second half, I think, got better. But Jason, as we always do every POS, give me your initial thoughts on the game.
Man, it was for 2.5 quarters, I was sitting there going, what in the world is happening? Because, yes, you can make the argument, early season, early game jitters, first game of the season. You can say that, but it's Tennessee Martin. This isn't a decent opponent. It's not South Carolina. It's not a middle-of-the-road Power 5 or a Group of 5 team. It's a team you're supposed to get in, get out, and not really have any concern or worry whatsoever. Now, the third quarter, at about the 8-minute mark or so, when Mekhi Muse took his screen for the touchdown, that seemed to just lift whatever burden or weight this team had. And then they come back down. They get Carson Beck looked tremendous on the drive after with the 2 big throws. The first one to C.J. Smith for 40-something yards, 41 yards, I believe. And then after that, you could kind of breathe and not think twice. And then they finished with a 48-7 victory. And sure, while you could have expected a game where it was 55 or 60-something to nothing, 48-7 still looks good. So anybody who's not watching the game closely sees that score, they're thinking, okay, yeah, Georgia took care of business. The final score wasn't really indicative of how this game went. No. So I do think that when it comes to starting fast and starting explosive, that has to be addressed 100%. You cannot go into the South Carolina game and have that sort of start happen. That said, the fact that they were able to do what they did in the third quarter and show that explosion, that's a good that can be construed as a good sign going forward, just because that was what we expected them at the beginning of the game. They just need to do it for the entire game, the entire 4 quarters, especially once the SEC portion of the season ramps up.
Yeah, there was a lot to take in from that game. A lot of guys got to play, which was nice. Obviously, you wanted to see some of those guys, but just the first, like you said, first half was not great. They had the touchdown there, early on in, I guess, the second drive. Carson was able to get that to Brock, and he was able to kind of run that in. And then Carson made the play to get into the end zone on the rush, but just looked off. It looked out of sync. It looked like there wasn't much energy. Kirby Smart said it, I think, going into the fourth quarter to the sideline reporter that he wanted to see energy from the guys. He wanted to see something from them. And like you said, the touchdown from Mekhi Muse was probably the best play in terms of like the offensive line getting out there, making the play work, right? And it did kind of turn the game around for him. I never thought the game was in doubt. Okay, let's not go that far. Right. Like, you weren't going to lose to UT Martin, right, Jason? But it was concerning seeing how they had to open up against Oregon this year again. What would have happened? There's a lot of comments about Mike Bobo, and excuse me, we're going to get to Bobo. I had a buddy that was in the stadium, and the chants of Bobo were raining down already here in game one.
Defending champs called for the new coordinator's head already.
There was some young kid that was sitting by him that was like, "You already ruined my childhood. Don't do this to me in my adulthood." So he's going to hear it, right? He's going to hear it.
Yeah.
Is it fair, Jason, at this point?
I mean, I think it's fair to wonder why in the world they started this game that way. Why did they look somewhat unprepared? It was baffling to me that the run game with the offensive line, with what we expect this offensive line to look like, only finished, I think, what was it, 140 yards or something to that effect. Really didn't do much on the ground against a team that they should have been able to assert its will at the beginning. You know, some of it's, you know, the players, some of them didn't execute. I thought Dominic Lovett did not have a good game. I mean, those 2 drops were bad. They were bad drops. So wasn't helped out there. There were 2 calls in the first half. The 3rd and 5, I think near midfield, where they just ran the ball up the middle with, I believe it was Cash Jones. And that's crazy. That's Todd Monken doesn't do that. I'm sorry. Like, it also didn't feel like they were really being that aggressive in the first half. And it could have been maybe you know, I know Aaron Murray, he's sitting up there at the top and he's saying they're playing a quarter's luck. So perhaps, you know, Carson Beck didn't want to force a ball and didn't want to go vertical early in the game. It seemed like a lot of stuff was being checked down. Didn't seem that there was a whole lot of aggression going on. I think the coordinator oftentimes does take a little more blame than deserved in some of those situations. Then I come back to, I don't know if it was a call that Carson made or if it was one from Bobo himself I know one of our employees, I think it was Trent actually, who said in the group chat that it looked like Carson just ran to the line, never looked at the sideline. So I don't know, but that was the first down, right after the Lovett catch, and they run the ball with no timeouts.
If Beck didn't look to the sidelines on that, and it's Beck's fault, Bobo is going to catch hell for that, and I feel bad for Bobo but at the same time, that has to be something that they've practiced, right? It has to be something that they've looked at and said, all right, well, we get into a situation, you can, no huddle it and try to run it in. There was a great comment here from Pickless Cage, says it looked like the players were treating it like a scrimmage. I 100% agree. I don't think they took UT Martin for anything. They saw that they were 50-point favorites. They were 2-time national champions, and they just looked like they, didn't have to care. They knew they were going to win the game. Problem is, now in practice this week, Kirby is going to be all over them, I think. Larry Glover does bring us back down to reality a little bit here. He says 559 offensive yards is good. It sure is. And then we had another comment up here from Muschamp's Reading Glasses saying, this show isn't for me. So, I mean, dramatic overreactions from Georgia fans. Muschamp's Reading Glasses, this is exactly what this show is for. It's a safe space to let out those overreactions. So join us, my friend. Don't hinder it. Let folks overreact, because that is what we're here for. But, in fairness, Georgia 18 victories in a row, most in Georgia history. So they'll be all right. This is the time.
Yeah. The other thing is, this is a team under Kirby, especially for whatever reason, they do this against these type of teams. Last year was Kent State. Kent State, whatever reason, just did not play well. Just let them hang around. Even Georgia Tech late in the year, not to the effect where Kent State, you're like, what is going on here? Where it looked like they were sleepwalking, like kind of like you said earlier, they overlooked, didn't really care that much about Tennessee Martin, thought they could just show up and treat it like a scrimmage and win big no matter what, and not have to necessarily work for it like they did later in the game. But that said, they have those games, and then when it's a big opponent, at least these last couple of years, you look at Oregon especially, they come out and they look like the best team in the country. So I think you should factor that in. I do think that the opponent, the type of opponent, where they're coming from, does actually matter. They are 18 to 20. Well, I guess in some cases with the COVID year, 24-year-olds. So they're 18 to 24-year-olds now on college rosters.
I think there's still some 25. There's some 25-year-olds out there. You look hard enough, Jason, and you might even find a 26-year-old. To be honest,
right?
I'm sure we could. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah. Well, you have so they're human. They're going to fall into those same kind of mind traps that anybody would in these situations, and so. The talent discrepancy, though, it just makes you it's fair to wonder and question what in the world was going on for 2.5 quarters, because that was not the offense anybody expected. I don't care what the final score was, what the final yardage number was. For the first 2.5 quarters, that was not what anybody expected.
Hamilton says Alabama gave up a touchdown in the third quarter. Meltdown alert. I was just looking to see, trying to keep up here. Yeah, they did give up one, so watch out. Alabama should be looking bad too. This, Jason, it's a little scary. Offensive line did not look like the number one in the country from Amari Carmichael. They didn't. Second team offensive line came in, looked okay. And I want to talk about the quarterbacks too. We got a long show, guys, so we're going to get to everything. I don't want to just spill the beans on everything, up front, but we'll touch on everything, and then we'll get into it a little more in depth and throughout the show. But offensive line, for how much they got hyped up, Jason, and there were some plays, right, where they looked decent. Like that screen pass to Muse was beautiful. Watching those offensive linemen, watching Tate Ratledge get out there, great. The run game, though, didn't do much for me tonight. And I don't know if that's because of lack, like John Gibson says here, kind of lacking a home run hitter at running back, if that's the case. But running game didn't do much for me tonight, Jason.
To me, it looked more like the line. I mean,
I think
you saw Robinson and Milton both had big gains in the run game. They both had big plays. It just didn't seem like anything was opening up front with consistency. And they did this too last year. I think people forget that for the first quarter of last year, they really weren't running the ball with the kind of consistency at that 200 a game type of level. It wasn't until about the midpoint when they started hitting a groove and you started seeing them really be effective, rotating the backs, the offensive line hitting its stride. But yeah, it's the quality and caliber of the opponent that you just expect. And here's the thing: this fan base, people who've covered this team, the program itself has been very spoiled the last 2 years with, let's call it what it is at the same time. This is the post-game overreaction show.
Exactly.
And they won 48-7. We are nitpicking, but we're nitpicking for a very good reason. And the very good reason is that the expectations of this program are as high as they've ever been in the history of the program. You win 18 in a row. You go two straight national championships. Yes, you're going to find some scrutiny when your offensive line can't put up the kind of numbers that or can't help produce the run game to the type of numbers you're expecting, and you are sitting at what 17. Midway through the third quarter against an FCS team that gave up 65 or whatever it was last year to Tennessee. So that's just the reality of it.
Tony Stark says, first game, relax. Games like this are good so you can learn and prepare for a tough opponent.
No, I actually disagree with this 100%. And here's the thing. It's not a thing of, oh, come on, we're freaking out. They're going to lose now. No, I'm not saying that whatsoever. I'm saying that it is 100% fair to be like, why can't you expect a fast start? Why can't you expect what they're likely going to do to South Carolina? Because what's going to happen is this. We're sitting there going, this is crazy. Like, they look almost pathetic for 2.5 quarters. They're going to probably play well next week, and then they're going to annihilate South Carolina. I'll call it right now. They're going to annihilate them, and they're going to look like the number one team in the country. And you know what? Tony's probably right. Like, it's not going to matter once they play a better team for the first time this year. I just think it's fair. I don't think it's something that if somebody wants to be upset and wonder why this team for 2.5 quarters looked the way it did, I think it's completely fair and rational. I think it's a rational opinion, actually.
Let me bring on two guys here. Junior, I see you. Junior, I'm going to get to you in a little bit. If you want to hop back on like 20, 30 minutes, I don't want you to just wait the whole time, but I'll get to you. So call back in and I'll get to you. I don't want you to wait the whole time. Let me get these two guys in here. Andy Stowe and the man Eddie from the A, and we're not talking Atlanta. We're talking Ackworth. Gentlemen, good evening.
Good evening.
Hey, how's it going?
Eddie, I'm going to start with you. We do it every show. post game. We like to get the initial thoughts. So I would like your initial thoughts here as you're joining the show.
Well, I think Jason hit it on the head. You're starting slow, and that's forgivable because this is the first game out of the for the season. But you're not playing Oregon. You're not playing Clemson. You're playing UT Martin. And every time we ran the ball, guys, there was somebody in our backfield. And I'm not talking about our own. I'm talking about the opposing team was in our backfield. That's not good. And we're talking about the best offensive line, quote unquote, in the country. You can't run the ball any better than that through the first 2.5 quarters, like you said, Jason. That's not good. I was very disappointed. And Paul, I'm going to push back a little bit on what you said, that this game was you never really thought we were going to lose this game. For the first half, we were one bad turnover away from giving this team life. It was there.
But did you I definitely see where you're coming from with that. But did you really think at the end when the clock hit 0 after 60 minutes? Yeah. So there was chances they could have got back into the game, but overall,
could have been a dogfight, is what I'm saying. And this is the type of game. This is the type of game that should be over at half, and you got the third string out there in the third quarter, starting the third quarter, right? And it wasn't that way. Now, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. No Ladd, no Rosemy Jack Saint, no, we had some players out, fine, whatever. But I'm going to keep going back to this. It was UT Martin. I mean, come on. It was not good. And one more thing, and I'll let Andy go. The line couldn't block for whatever reason, but Bobo just kept going back to it. Right up the middle, right up the middle, right up the middle. Hit the edges. And every time they hit the edges a little bit, it seemed to work. But he kept going right back up the middle, and we got blown up time and time again. It just drove me crazy.
I have to agree with all of those statements there, Eddie. Andy, I don't know how much he left meat on the bone for you wise here.
I'm done. I'll talk to you later. He got it.
Come on, Andy. No, come on.
No,
he kind of tore it up there, and for good reason. I mean, he had some valid points. What can you add to that or second?
I mean, it's the O-line, and then Beck, when he had time, I don't know if he's seeing ghosts because he was worried about getting hit or what, but he was throwing them behind the receivers in the ground. And then you see, and like I said, the second team, they came in and the second team offensive line looked better to me. Like they actually got some push. They were blocking. And you saw Vandegrift, he was able to stand there and make some throws. And then you saw Gunner make some throws. And I mean, I thought Gunner looked better than all three of them. I mean, I know there's a lot to it than just the first game of the season, but I thought Gunner looked more like the guy than Beck. I mean, he just looked. I thought Vandegrift looked better than Beck, and so I don't know. I just wonder if that quarterback situation is going to be settled.
So I guess here we are, 20 minutes into the show, and you've given us a nice little segue to that, Andy, so we can kind of go around the horn with that. Man, this show has been pro Beck, and Jason knows why. Beck's grandmother, you guys know why. Beck's grandmother called into the show and did a nice cameo appearance. Impromptu, mind you, she called in and talked to us. So we've been pro Beck, all right. And I really don't want to say anything bad about Beck because his grandma might be watching. And if my grandma was watching, God rest her soul, I wouldn't want anybody saying anything bad about me. But we have to. This is the Overreaction show, so I apologize, Miss Beck, in advance. I think all three quarters. Oh man, should I say there's? Is there a quarterback competition?
You got to do it.
Yeah, I think I've jumped into it. There probably should be a quarterback competition in Athens this week. I don't know. That's my hot take overreaction. I think there should be an open quarterback battle between all three of them. And Kirby says it every week, right? He says every position is up for grabs. Then let's see it this week. Let's legitimately give each one of these guys a shot. I don't know, Jason.
I'm going to push back. I don't think Carson Beck did anything to lose the job.
Nah, he had some bad passes.
Every quarterback that plays a full game has bad throws. Stetson Bennett had plenty of bad throws. Like, we can't expect the quarterback to every play be perfect or not miss a receiver. He didn't do anything tonight that you were like, oh, God, that's terrible. I thought he played it safe a lot of times, especially early.
Which
it wasn't until the third quarter, but when you saw him unleash, he had some good throws. I don't think he in particular did anything, that would say, okay, he can't play. Whatever. I liked what I saw out of Brock and Gunner. Yes. I also would like to say that what really caught my ear was when Aaron Murray said that I guess when they had their production meeting and whatnot, that they were told a couple days ago that Gunner was right there with the number 2 quarterback who could possibly overtake Brock.
Which I told you in the Sunday show. If you read between the lines of what Kirby said, talking about that second quarterback, it wasn't over yet, and I freaking knew it. And Aaron, thank you for allowing me to read Kirby Smart's mind in that press that one of those conferences he had before the game. Not to cut you off, but I did want to get that.
No. Also, it was very interesting that he publicly put that out there.
Also, there was a big difference, I think, in the 2 backup quarterbacks and Carson. And Stephen Mobley hits it on the head here, talking about Beck was safe and boring, which works fine with a dominating defense and powerful O-line like in the past couple of years. He was looking. He had one read, Jason. He had one read, and then if it wasn't there, he was checking down. There was no scanning the field. He was locked into one guy. If that guy wasn't open, all right, I'm pushing it to Cash Jones out the backfield. I'm pushing it to whoever on.
It was one series where he was pushing it to Cash Jones.
No, he didn't. It
was like that one series, that 2-minute drill where he played it safe.
I don't know. I feel there's a lot of people in the chat that are agreeing with me here.
Again, I know. I'm with you. It's one game. I don't think he did anything to where you say, "Oh no, he can't play." He doesn't.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying. I'm just what I'm saying.
You said you want a quarterback competition is what should happen.
I think there should be a quarter. I'm not saying he can't win that competition, but let's have a quarterback competition. Andy, please help me. Please.
I'm with you because you look at it when he was on the field, it just looked stagnant. It just didn't have that feel. And all of a sudden, you bring in Vandegrift and they start going down the field. And I know he did a couple of scrambles, but he was hitting guys, and there was a different energy. Gunner Stockton come in, a different energy. I don't know, just seeing what was boring. What did he say? It was.
I would argue real quick that there was different energy because 2 touchdowns had just been put on the board,
and that's a good argument, and it may be true. But
you start getting the offense rolling. You're in a good spot. You put the next guy in and the next guy, and you take care of business.
And that's probably true, but I don't know. It felt different. It feels like when Stetson won the job from when he won it from Beck. I don't know. It just feels different.
You had to say it like that, Andy. You didn't have to say it like.
I know. I was trying. I didn't know how to say it. I was trying to use. I don't know, but that's how it felt. It just felt like when Stetson took over, when they came in, it felt like the Stetson thing.
I'll say it this way. So first of all, you mentioned Mrs. Beck. I would say Mrs. Beck would say you got to hit a 5-yard slant properly, and you need to put a little more air under the ball to hit Arian Smith in stride for a touchdown. Those were 2 huge misses. And I'll say one word when Brock Vandegrift came in after Beck did, and it was decisive. That's what I saw. It was boom, boom, get rid of the ball. And to me, Beck was not doing that in the first half. He did a little better in the third quarter, but he was not decisive. He looked scared. No, scared is the wrong word. He looked nervous because it was his first start. That's the way he looked. Now, I'm not going to sit here, Jason, and say that he needs to be benched. By no means am I saying that. I am not saying that at all.
Did it almost look like he's playing not to get benched instead of to go out? It's like, and that's how it looked to me. That's how the first half looked to me, like he's just a little not stiff, but.
I just thought there was a lot going on. The offensive line wasn't getting the run game going. You didn't have the balance.
Yeah,
Dominic Lovett dropped that what would have been a touchdown.
It should have been a touchdown. And he was decisive on that play. I'll give him that. He saw it. Boom. He should have made that play. You're right.
They're also not giving any official drops. Well, this is the I'll bring these stats up in a minute. There's no drops next to Dominic Lovett's name. Not to say that those weren't drops.
2.
Just,
2.
Yeah. In the book right now, there are 0 drops on.
How do you categorize that though? He got hit.
The book is telling a lie right now.
Look, I'm not the one who wrote the book, and I'm just the reader of said book. And we all saw with our own eyes things that could be or could not be. But it is what it is. There aren't any drops right now in the official score book for Dominic Lovett. with that being said, I've seen some comments talking about how Beck threw for 300 yards. Nobody's saying that, again, he should be. I'm just saying that everybody saw with their own eyes what happened in those first 2 quarters. It didn't look great. It was very conservative. And I don't know, is that on this is where it goes back to they're playing an FCS school. Is it on the vanilla playbook? Everybody likes to kind of blame that. I still think you have to make passes, though. And to Beck's credit, he went 21 of 31. If you look only at the stat line, his stat line looked fine. 21 of 31, 294 through the air, had a touchdown on the ground. Then it looks great. It just seemed like, you
can't blame the vanilla playbook for poor blocking. The offensive line just could not block. I don't care who. I can call the plays, and if you got guys that are supposed to be 4- and 5-star elite offensive line, they've got to block guys from Tennessee Martin. So you can't. There's no way anybody can blame that on vanilla playbook.
You also then could go back because there's some people saying DZ saying can't grade our team when the play calling is a real problem. Well, maybe Bobo called a great game, but the players on the field didn't execute it. So then we get into this. It's almost like a pissing match between both sides. Either you're pro, like offensive coordinator side, or your pro player side. And you only look at it from that one lens. What I'm trying to do is there's 2 different lenses to look at it through. You can say the play calling was pathetic. Then you could also, on the other hand, say that the players didn't execute the plays that Bobo called in. You never know which one is the right one. We'll never know. We're not in the meetings. But what we do know is we're here to overreact. And that's what we do. I'm going to bring on the man, the myth, the legend, Roddy Nabolsi. Roddy, we've been overreacting a little bit here while you've been getting home.
No shit.
And as you can see in these comments here, I said there might be need for a quarterback competition, and some folks agree, some folks obviously don't.
Kirby does not agree.
Yeah, well, what does Roddy agree with tonight?
Look, man, I received all sorts of grief because I said on either Atlanta radio or some show, I said Georgia's got 3 good quarterbacks. Georgia's not had a great quarterback. Georgia doesn't have an elite quarterback. If Carson Beck was the man, then Stetson Bennett wouldn't be able to beat him out. When Kirby 2 years ago clearly said Carson Beck's our number 2. JT Daniels would have gone down. Carson Beck would have stepped in. He'd have taken over. In other words, if Stetson Bennett had been number 2 and he stepped in, do you think that Carson or somebody else would have beat him out? No. And Kirby's mentioned multiple times about what we lost. And you could tell that he thought they lost a great deal when they lost Stetson Bennett. In Carson Beck's case, when he first got here, I thought he was transferred. I didn't think he was that good. But I should say I didn't think that. It's just what people were telling us. It's like, he's not as good as we thought he was. But then in years 2 and 3, he got a lot better. And everyone's like, man, this kid can really play. He's got a great arm. He's much smarter than he was. And they raved about him. But my point is, this is a guy who backed Stetson Bennett up for 2 years. It's his first shot out there. It's going to take him a minute to find his legs. Remember, Stetson didn't look that good his first few times out there. Hell, Matt Stafford didn't look good his first few times out there. Let's overreact, or let's not overreact too much and see what's out there. But I think he is a good quarterback. He is not an elite quarterback. Brock Vandagriff is not elite. Gunnar Stockton is not elite. They're not what you have at some of these other places. But with all the people around them, they can be good. They can be great. You've got the tools to just be an absolute monster. I mean, and again, you didn't have Dejan Edwards out there. This line looks a little bit better with Dejan. It looks a lot better with a Ladd McConkey out there. It looks better with a healthy Kendall Milton.
Marcus Rosen-Jackson.
And give credit to UT Martin. Everyone's saying the offensive line didn't block. Bull crap. They blocked very well for most of the time. But when you have 8 guys coming and you have 5 blockers up there, I don't care how big you are. You can only put hands on so many guys. And so when they're bringing extras, what they didn't do was, get behind them, make them pay for being overly aggressive in the center of the field, roll the quarterback out. When you saw them roll back out, he looked a whole lot better. When they attacked the perimeters, 2 pitches, 36 yards and 27 yards to the perimeter, call plays that complement the guys that you have on the field. I heard Kirby. I know he's speaking with the media right now, but I heard him as I was driving over here on the call-in show. He's like, he was very, I don't want to say defensive of Carson Beck, but he's like, yeah, Carson got us into the right plays. He said there was that 1 3rd down throw that he messed up on, but he threw it out of bounds on a no play. He got us into the right runs. He got us into the right throws. We have some of our, we're a banged up football team. We don't have the running backs we need. So the way Kirby was talking to DJ Shockley is like, look, we have to play better around him. He didn't come out and mention the drop passes, but catch a couple of the balls that hit you in the hands, it's a different ball game. So I will say that he's not an elite quarterback. He's a good quarterback, could be great. You got 3, and here's the thing: you can win with any of them. I think you can go 12-0 with any of them. The one weakness this team has is what happens to any of these 3 quarterbacks when you're down 2 scores to Ohio State, like you were in the playoffs. That's where the Achilles heel of this team is going to be, is what happens in that situation. And again, they may take you right down the field like we saw in quarters 2 through 4. But that first quarter was brutal. You just didn't get the ball a whole lot. And I just think that we're going to make too much out of it. I don't think there's a quarterback controversy, but you see all 3 quarterbacks can move with that offense. But there's not one that just stands out head and shoulders above everybody else. He's in the NFL.
I guess that's my point, is if there's not one that stands out, maybe let them all, sorry, I saw Dogfather said, back home, is Bobo still the OC? Haven't heard any news yet.
Dogfather.
Damn it.
Cross the bow.
I mean, I can't even get a thought out, man. And he just comes out of left field.
I think Tony Starks is right. If you want to highlight that one, Beck was throwing behind and high on receivers. He wasn't accurate. He was not accurate. I think you guys, when I first got on, you were talking about maybe he's a little nervous about being pulled. I think he was a little tight. Kirby says he was calm.
The hell no.
See a calm quarterback. I saw a guy who, like you said, I felt like he was.
He's looking over his shoulder.
He was playing not to lose the job.
I think, again, first game is the first time you're the man, and I think he's going to maybe try a little bit hard or just try too much. And he was not accurate. Again, not elite. Good, could be great, but elite quarterback doesn't have Dominic Blaylock. Dominic Love, I'll keep saying it, diving backwards on a couple different plays where the ball's behind him. He was, and the one in the end zone, that's the one to Arian Smith where he's wide open. I'm like, man,
wide open.
That's the one I can't forgive. I'm like, man, that's on you. You had guys drop passes. You can be pissed off about those, but you should have scored there.
Also, I heard you say this, Roddy, because it got me. Did Kirby say it was a good thing or a bad thing when Beck threw it out of bounds on the offsides? Because that's a free play. He should have.
He said on one of the plays, or so.
Okay, because that play there, it just kind of was like, what?
Just throw it downfield.
There's another one. I think that it looked to me like he jumped off sides, and I think he thought he had a free play, and he chucked it downfield, and then it was like all of a sudden the 2nd and 10. I'm like, wait, they weren't off sides, but everybody thought they were. So
yeah, that was right there at the end zone. That was around the same time.
Yeah. He almost got a grounding call. It could have been a grounding.
Yeah. They were debating on if it was grounding on an offsides play when he threw it out of bounds.
Hey, can I ask Jason a question? Is there something to the vanilla play calling when it comes to playing a team like UT Martin, or is that total bullcrap? Are they like holding a lot of stuff back and they're like, we're just going to play this way, play it very vanilla for this game because it's UT Martin, and it didn't work, it didn't look good. We're playing Ball State, it's going to be vanilla again, and everything's going to come out against South Carolina. Is that true, or is that just BS?
I think 20, 25 years ago, maybe. I think like when teams are more run heavy and you could just assert your will against a group, what is now a group of 5 team, or say you had an SEC versus Sun Belt or MAC or something like that. Yeah, but these days, not really. I think the parity of the game, you really can't afford to be that team that loses to, the Michigan App State game, kind of change the how we look at a lot of these games. Virginia Tech's lost, I think, twice to FCS opponents. Now, I mean, are they going to hold stuff for, they're really, really good, kind of, I don't want to say gadget plays, but I would say that so much of football now is concepts driven more so than actual plays. And you're not really holding a whole lot back per se, as you are just trying to take what the defense is giving you based on the concepts you practice. And so, I mean, when you watch this game, it didn't feel like they were just they were calling a boring game because they thought less of Tennessee Martin. I didn't get that feel whatsoever. For me, it was a matter of they couldn't really establish a run game. They couldn't be consistent in that part, and then for whatever reason, they just weren't in sync. A lot of stopping and starting throughout the first half, really, and then of course
that third quarter.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, that third quarter, you talked about starting and stopping.
Oh, there was zero flow.
Oh, the first half of the third quarter too. Yeah.
Yeah, it just, and I felt bad too because like UT Martin's guys were going down every other play, and then so you'd have another TV timeout, and then their head coach, like he'd see something on 2nd and 10, and he'd be like, you know what, timeout. And he used every one of those things, and every one of those times they went to commercials. There was zero flow to this game at all on both sides of the ball. It was like right when you got into like, oh, we're playing football, somebody would get hurt, or the head coach would be like, timeout. You know what? This is going a little too smooth for a football game here. I need to slow this down a little bit. But yeah, this is a good comment from Hamilton I wanted to get to. He said, think about all the crap UGA fans gave Stetson. Man, would they want Stetson back tonight? I
don't know, dude.
I don't know.
Did I say that out loud? I'm sorry.
Dogfather says, in all honesty, did Beck look like he was holding the ball too long early on? It certainly did from my vantage point. He was in the stands. Roddy, I'll let you take that one, then we'll let Jason roll out of here because I know he's got to do some editing, and I'll bring some more folks on. So
I don't think so. And again, I'm not a Carson Beck defender or
you kind of sound like one right now.
I'm coming in with I sat next to a coach for 4 hours and talked to him after it, and I'm like, hey, what went on here? And again, I'm on the record saying that he's good, just not elite, could be great. That's still to be determined. But I don't think it was so much him holding the ball. I mean, if he held on the ball, wouldn't he get sacked more? Wouldn't he get hit more?
Right.
I think his biggest problem to me was inaccuracies. Just didn't hit guys that he could have. I didn't think he held on to it too long. I'm like, when he let go, hit the guys you're supposed to. Kirby says he got him into the right plays. I go back to that second quarter, or even which drive was it? It was the one they wound up getting downfield and then having to stop it. It was, they had to punt. First drive, 3 and out. Second drive, they go 76 yards for a touchdown. Okay. Third drive, 3 and out. Yeah. Fourth drive, they go 8 yards. 8 plays, 47 yards. They flip the field on them and everybody got frustrated on that fourth drive. We're like, why are you punting again? You should be punting, getting into the end zone. But I'm like, this just shows that it's like an old car. You're trying to turn it over. It's like, you just know it's going to catch any second.
So what you're saying is you need a starter.
Yeah. You need a jump start. You need a little more oomph. And I think getting
you like that, Eddie? I know you did.
Yes, that was good. That was good.
Adajan Edwards.
Well played.
A Lad McConkey. Yeah. Give me a healthy starter in the backfield and give me a healthy Lad McConkey, and all of a sudden you got it. Again, you had guys out there first time playing. You had Ernest Green's first snap out there. Some guys on defense, their first games. It's just, I think you had wide receivers and quarterbacks. I mean, you had 400 yards passing who were just having I think they're just nervous or just anxious or something. But they showed flashes of what they could do, just completely inconsistent. I don't think there's a rhyme or reason to it. You can call play calling, but when you call a run that should go off tackle, B gap, and they bring 2 linebackers on either side of it, Well, you didn't know they were going to do that. I'm like, why'd you call that? Well, how the hell do you know that's what they're going to run? So, but other plays work fine.
Hey, Jason, before we get you out of here, because I thought this too, from Pickless Cage, he says, can we say something about that UT Martin punter? Holy cow, he won't be there next year. Yeah,
he won't be there next year.
I thought that exact same thing. I was like, this kid's going to end up. We'll see him at some SEC school next year.
He's in the portal.
Yeah, he's already entered the portal for all we know.
He's already a transfer though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he has. That's right. I guess you get one time.
The kicker already has transferred once.
He transferred to UT Martin. He was, I think, at Charlotte.
Oh man,
wow.
He wasted that
Charlotte
one.
Was still stupid.
Yeah, he wasted that one because damn, he had 8 punts tonight, 402 yards, average of 50.3. His longest was 66 inside the 20, 2 of them, and 50 plus. He had 3 of them. That's a stat line for that guy.
Well, y'all know I'm a sucker for punters, so I'm all about this kid.
Yeah. Hey, give him a waiver. Let's see what happens. Jason, man, we appreciate you. Have a good night, my boy.
Yep, y'all do the same. Take care.
Yeah.
Good work. Hey, before you go too far, I want to mention our friends over at the Rogue Shop. They are a sponsor of this show. The Rogue Shop has a deal. They just announced it yesterday, I believe. You can get a ton of the products on their site. They have the fantastic gummies. They have the ones for pain. They have the ones for if you have chronic pain, they can help you. If you have an issue sleeping, they have a ton of them that say, nighttime use. But normally you can get 10% off with the promo code, UGA Sports. But if you use promo code Rogue Shop 23, think Rogue Shop, what's the year? 2023. You get 23% off some of their best stuff. So just want to mention our friends at the Rogue Shop. You can see they have the tinctures, they have the drinks, they have the gummies, they have the lollipops, they even have chocolate. They have and you notice they'll say like nighttime use. So check out Richard. This is a former, he's a vet. He got hurt in the Army. He could not get relief. And he found out that the THC stuff helped him get relief. And he basically makes all this stuff himself pretty much. So hit our friends up at Rogue Shopping at 23% off with promo code Rogue Shop 23.
Also, if you have to take a drug test, just beware.
They're
also very potent, folks. Read the instructions. I did not. Tell you, first-hand experience, folks. You want to?
Roddy, is there anything there that will make that first half offense look better than it was?
Dude, take one of those 50 milligram THC.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I should have done that tonight.
Eddie, that thing.
Carson back, yeah.
Nah, you take one of those, you won't even remember the first half. Well,
that might not be a bad thing.
We joke about it, but if you do get any of the Delta 8 products, I recommend, and they'll say in the box, try a third or a half before you take a whole.
Don't eat the whole thing.
And yeah, if you're what's drug test, be careful.
What's the legality on this? Totally legal, Hamilton. You can get it shipped over to Flyer Branch wherever you want.
I think they ship to almost every state.
Yeah,
but it's where it's produced, so it is completely legal. And
give it a shot.
Stuff.
Carson Beck will look like the Heisman winner in the first half. Is that what you're telling me?
He'll look like a Teletubby out there to you. I promise you. You take one of those. Nemo or Poe or whatever his name was. It would be one of those. I want to get Junior in here and Dane, guys. So if you guys want to hop back on a little later, please feel free to do so. But I appreciate you jumping on with us to start.
Thank you, boys.
And, hey, you got to put the pressure on Roddy for our new show. So I'm just saying he's here right now. But we'll get there. Guys, we'll talk to you soon. We appreciate you.
Yep.
Let me get old Junior's been waiting for a while, man. Junior, what's going on, my friend?
Man, how's it going? Can y'all hear me good? Just want to make sure.
Yeah, we can hear you great. We haven't seen you in a while, my friend. You don't call in on the Sunday shows, which is fine. But when the games come around, I guess is when you come around, that's all right. So what's up, man?
Well, I work Sundays and everything, so I catch them later.
That's all I need to hear.
First thing I want to say is just shout out to Aaron Murray calling the game. I feel he did what he was supposed to calling the game. You know, you had the play-by-play, then you had the insider, which is Dan Murray. So he was okay. But I'm gonna put it like this: this is the first game of the season, so we can overreact, but we have to realize this is the first game of the season. But I was screaming at the TV the first quarter. Almost every play, no matter if it was offense, defense, I'm just like the first quarter, I was there saying like, oh my, like I'm getting a plane ticket to watch these tackle drills. All these open field missed tackles, everything like okay, it's first game, calm down, first game. It's the first game. But like I actually showed my girl this because like I'm sitting there looking at TV mad, irritated, and she was like, why are you mad? You guys are up 17-0. You guys are up, you know, whatever 0. Like, why are you mad? And like I went down the scorecard on ESPN. I was like, you got this team beating this team by 50 points. You got this team beating this team by 70 points. Like, they're not even in our, like, field of a conference. Like, this should be a blowout game for us. And
Yeah.
Cliffhanger of a point.
Yeah, it was a very, very good cliffhanger there, Junior. Hopefully you come back. I will remove you right now. I think you fell out on us, and it's a hell of a cliffhanger because he was going to really drop some knowledge there, I think.
I mean, what a great rant that was happening. I was enjoying that.
Yeah, it was getting me. It was firing me up a little bit. What are you pouring there, bud?
You know, back with our friends at ASW. This is my Fiddler bourbon here, distilled by dogs, 5 of the 6 founders, Georgia folks. So if you tailgate or if you watch that first quarter and you just need some booze, Fiddler's an ASW distillery. It's in Atlanta. They're Georgia folks. It's great. I already had one glass, and so I have a feeling I may be tipsy on this show in a bit, Paul, because
there we go. There we go. It's all right. It's okay. Roddy, are you back? I don't know if you're back or not. Question for Dane right here from Joshua Hammonds says, did it appear the offense moved more effectively once we had Beck and BVG Stockton rolling out of the pocket?
All of them. Yes. All right. Look, I was good. Georgia is going to have to make a change at quarterback, in my opinion. I do not think Georgia will be able to win a title with Carson Beck. I don't know if Georgia can win a title with the other two either. I'm not sure about that. But if Carson Beck is inaccurate like he was in this game, that's supposed to be his best attribute. He's not a better athlete than the other two. He's supposed to be more accurate. He's supposed to have better command of the offense. And I thought Georgia's offense moved better both with Brock Vandegrift and with Gunnar Stockton. Now, that's against tired defense later in the game. There's some variables involved there. I was very underwhelmed with Carson Beck. And this is after an offseason where I was just like, hey, let's wait and see. But if Georgia's practice is harder than the games, which is what we're always told, Carson Beck didn't look very good in this game. And I don't see Georgia's path forward moving with him. He can get better. He can prove me wrong. All that stuff's totally possible. I could be an idiot. This is a post-game overreaction show. I don't think Carson Beck can lead Georgia to a championship. He may lead them to 12-0 in the regular season, but I would tell you there's about 3 teams in the West that would have beaten Georgia tonight.
James Garrett says, Dane been up all in the alcohol. Sheesh. He's calling for Beck's head.
Yep.
One game, he's calling for Beck's head.
But look, this is not just this in a vacuum. Within the last 2 weeks, 2 of my best sources around the program told me this one person that has seen most of the practices in the fall told me that Gunnar Stockton was the best quarterback among the 3. It's just they didn't quite know the system yet. So I was like, ooh, that's not the greatest thing. But then another one told me, because I wrote an article right after Beck was named starter of just like, let's just wait and see how this goes. And I was met with a lot of resistance on that because I wasn't jumping on the Beck train at that point. And one of my best quarterback sources around Georgia told me exactly right. Like, this was much closer than most people realize. None of them are as good as Stetson Bennett was last year. And in fact, in terms of cohesion on offense, Georgia's really far away from where they were last season. And so this team's got a lot of growth to do in offense. And if this is a championship team, it's going to be because the defense held the other team to fewer points, not because the offense can score with everybody.
So Dr. Greg Steely got on to me too. I didn't put his comments up when he was getting on to me about saying that there should be a quarterback competition, but I will for you, Dane. You said just a terrible take. He was 21 of 31 for 300 yards. What more could you ask for, Dane?
I mean, cool. Mekhi Muse ran for 50 yards. Like when they were trying to go downfield, it was bad. Like everything was going to be, let's throw this 7 yards and see what happens after that. Like that's not too many degrees far away from Florida's dreadful 3rd and 11. Let's throw it 2 yards and hope and a prayer. Like Carson Beck's better than that, but like, man, that ain't going to fly against the best teams on this schedule. I promise you. If you get in a shootout with Ole Miss, some of those misses tonight, you'll lose.
Yeah. Let me get in the man, the myth, the legend, Ben Choppy Bachman. Looks like he just woke up from a hell of a nap or was on a bender, one of the two.
I showered. You know what? I bathed. You
had to wash that offense off of it.
Hours early. I got that fixed. I wanted to come on here, Paul. I wanted to be good. It's the first game of the season. I wanted to be nice to you. You know what? I'm not going to take pot shots at you, Paul. So I'm feeling in a good mood. So I'm going to be nice to you. You are one of the greatest hosts ever to ever do this. I'm going to say it. Okay, now.
Thanks, Ben.
I just want to point out last year they beat Sanford 33-0. They had less yards than they did today. Stetson Bennett missed multiple throws in that game. I think he turned over the ball. I think who was the other one? Kent State. They looked atrocious for Kent State last year. People need to stop overreacting. Beck, there's two things. I'll say this about Beck. One, agreeing with Dane, and one, disagreeing. Beck's issue is when it's bad, it can spiral. But when it's good, he's as deadly as any quarterback in terms of when he was on in practice, he was by far the best quarterback. When he's off, mentally, he can lose it. Yeah, and I know Dane's going to disagree with that. He's the most.
I have sources that disagree with that. That like through fall camp, it wasn't ever like fully that he was the best quarterback. It's just that he's been there the longest and he knows the system better.
But when you look at Monken, I'll say this about why I trust when Todd Monken says he's the most natural passer.
Here's what I found.
I have full faith in his evaluations, in large part because he was the first to offer Dylan Raiola. He was the first to offer Juju Lewis and the other top 26 quarterback. The guy knows quarterbacks. He knows them. So when Todd Monken says Carson Beck's the next guy and he's my most natural passer, I trust that. Now I know he's gone.
Ben, you can say that, but Todd Monken admitted that he didn't see Stetson Bennett's potential.
Wait a minute. So you also brought up two other points. Gunnar Stockton doesn't know the offense, and Brock Vandergriff, who I've seen. This isn't just your source. I've seen it. His arm angle and his launch point, they have to correct his motion, his throw motion. They had to correct that. That's a huge issue.
Okay, is he going to be more accurate than Carson Beck was on downfield passes?
Doesn't know the offense. So you have to go to Carson Beck.
No, you don't. You think Vandergriff would have been more inaccurate than Beck was in that first half?
Mechanics and the other doesn't know the offense. You can't play them.
You think that Vandergriff's mechanics would have made him more inaccurate than Beck was in that first half? Because I do not. It may have been equal.
In the first quarter. So, wait a minute. So, in last year, the same things were happening with Stetson. And also, I also want to point out the offense, the game. I mean, we already have people firing Bobo. I think that's ridiculous. Yeah. They're going to be vanilla. The play calling is going to be vanilla in a game like this. It is. If people think they're just going to unleash the full playbook against UT Martin, they're clueless. When you're running the ball up the middle on 3rd and 5, and you're doing the most generic passing concepts, I get it. He missed some throws early. But as the game went on, the second quarter, the third quarter, he was way better. I don't think he missed a pass in the third quarter. So as the game went on, he got better. He needs to get into a rhythm. I'm with you. When he's off, he's off. I remember the UAB practice before. I remember, 21, when he was supposed to be a starter? He had an atrocious practice. He was named starter, and then mentally it got to him. I've said it for a while, Dan. I don't think it's the accuracy. I think it's the mental. I think the mental is his problem. I don't think it's the accuracy, his mobility.
But shouldn't that be his strength after 3 years?
I get that, but I think it's more of when he throws a bad pass, he goes haywire, and that's the thing he has to control. If he gets that, I think he has all the ability.
But then you're not going to win a title that way. That's just not going to happen. Because
who's going to beat you on this schedule?
Stetson Bennett would make a bad pass, he'd come back and throw a touchdown.
As long as he doesn't turn the ball over, who's going to beat you on the schedule? South Carolina?
I mean,
With
it
the
may
worst
take
Power
till,
5 offensive line
No.
I've ever seen.
it may take till SEC championship, but like you're Georgia. You're not just trying to go 12-0, you're trying to go 15-0.
But if you're 12-0, you're in the playoff.
Okay. You're in the playoff and you lose in the semifinal because you have a quarterback that can't throw downfield. Great. Is that an accomplishment?
Okay, well, and then you have who you face in the playoff. Michigan, who you're more talented and have better guys on both lines of the trenches, in my opinion.
If Georgia
USC,
doesn't,
who has a horrific defense, who you could play quarterback, Paul or me, and score on. You have is Texas. No, we're not talking about Texas. No, I'm not talking about them. Ohio State was awful today. Who, in my opinion, unless Alabama finds a quarterback, I don't think there's a team that's more balanced than Georgia, regardless of the quarterback situation. And you know what? Joel Klatt said this. I was listening to him. He said the reason why I don't have worries about Georgia than Alabama is they're not a quarterback-centric team. They're a balanced offense. Now, the offense was anemic with the play calling early and all that, and Beck was inaccurate. I get it. I agree with you. But for you to say because Beck missed a few throws in the first quarter, they can't win a national title, I think is egregious.
find me the last inaccurate quarterback that won a title. You're not going to find it.
I mean, did you see Stetson in 21 versus Bama? Was
Bruh.
he accurate?
Bruh, go back to that fourth quarter.
And then guess what happened the next year? He improved.
Go back to that.
And guess what happened at the beginning of that year? He wasn't the starter. Over the course of the year, he improved. He was bad in the SEC title game, great in the national title game. He improved. You're thinking Beck in his first start isn't going to improve? You know what he did over the course of the game, Dane? He improved. He was bad in the first quarter, and in the third quarter, he was the best of his football. You can't just say first quarter, the guy sucks.
Are y'all done?
This is great. It started. So I'm glad you came back. It started at 51 minutes. I wrote it down. And, we're now at 57. I haven't said a single word. This is excellent. This has really been quite fun for me because I've let my voice, get better a little bit there.
Rest in those pipes. I get it.
I mean, that was excellent. Do you guys want to keep going?
I mean,
No?
I'm going to be proven right in history here. Like, I'm totally fine with it. If Georgia sticks with Carson Beck, is not winning a third
Wait a
title.
minute, you're gonna be proven right? Like DJ Uiagalelei is the greatest quarterback of all time? Like,
I mean, when I said
don't
that,
say you're always proven right.
I
Come
said
on
he
now.
was a better quarterback than Georgia had going into that game, and then the other one was JT Daniels. About the same.
Oh,
you know who I want to bring on really fast? And guys, it's gonna get weird. It's gonna get weird. Okay, be prepared.
Spano?
Yeah, he's here.
Wait, has Eddie been on tonight?
Hell yeah.
Huh?
Has Eddie already been on?
Yeah, Eddie's already been on.
Oh, I
Yeah.
missed
I'm pouring some more. I'm about to get drunk if Spano's coming on. This is about to be great.
Man. All right, guys. Hey, Eddie. Or no, Eddie. Hey, Anthony.
Oh, you're an asshole. Eddie.
What's up, big dog?
Hey, what's up, guys?
How you living?
That was awesome, Ben. You and Dane going back and forth. That shit was dope. But Dane is right. Dane is right. We're probably going to go, 7-5 with Carson Beck this year?
Nope, didn't say that. I think Georgia's going 12-0, regardless of who the quarterback is. But if it's Carson Beck, they'll lose in Atlanta.
To who?
LSU, Alabama, maybe more. Either one.
Well, it's a good thing Carson Beck doesn't play defense. So,
Anthony, I feel like you're coming in here. This isn't the Anthony I'm used to. What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
You take some downers tonight?
got a haircut.
That's it. You're a changed man.
I cut it and gave it to cancer patients. That's what me and my kids do. So I actually cut it like a month ago. I shaved it. So
Well, I kind
got to get ready for the new season. So no, that was probably the most boring 48-7 ever.
It was.
It was.
The third quarter, Anthony, was painful. And like I said a little earlier, it wasn't so much that there just wasn't a rhythm to the game. And I think that was because UT Martin kept getting hurt. UT Martin head coach was calling timeouts. You had the obligatory timeouts that you had to have regardless.
TV timeouts.
Yeah, TV timeouts. It just really dragged on. I remember it was the first game of the year. What was that big game on Thursday night. What was it? Week 0.
Florida, Utah?
No, it was week 0. I can't remember it was some game. And that game lasted 2 hours and 52 minutes. I looked over at the clock, and the third quarter was, I think, 12 minutes to go. We were at 3 hours of total time. So just a long game.
Yeah, there are a lot of injuries from UT Martin. A lot of injuries. So.
And timeouts.
Yeah.
Tons of timeouts, yeah.
What was Georgia's total yardage tonight?
Total yardage?
559 yards, 400 through the air, 159 on the ground. And that's with bringing in the second and third strings on in the latter half. I mean, guys, it was, as much as I love an overreaction, it was a damn blowout. I mean, we're basing it on – we're looking for chinks in the armor early on. Like, oh, well, there's this one drive that didn't work out the way it should have. You know, everybody sucks, you know. Like, there's more to it. This team was built for the third and fourth quarter. They wouldn't have won their first title in 41 years if it were not for what they did in the fourth quarter. The fact that you were able to pull your starting quarterback and put in your second, third guys, hardly any penalties. You didn't have 2 guys wearing number 3 like you did at Florida.
Boy,
you didn't have I mean, how many? You had a few penalties. If I'm the UT Martin head coach, if I'm Simpson, I'm throwing downfield on some of these younger cornerbacks who keep holding and getting penalties. I chuck it down the field a little bit more, but there was a lot of very talented players out there. We can make a lot out of the quarterback controversy or the fact the offense didn't function, but they almost had 600 yards. That 559 yards last year would have been the 4th most they'd had in the entire season. So y'all can dial it back a bit.
Foster Moss said 48-7. What y'all wanted? 81 points like Oregon?
Exactly.
Love you, Foster.
I mean, it ended up that, but it was 17-0 at half against UT Martin. Like, and it could have been worse. First half wasn't good.
Yeah, it could have been a lot better. All you had to do is catch one pass, and it would have been 24-0 at the half, at which point you're on a 48-0 route, which is right at what the
should have been a 48-0 because that was not a touchdown.
Exactly. So, I mean, technically they gave him a touchdown, so it's as
Yo, can we talk about how he got bent double on that fence? Can we overreact to that? That fence is – I've been down there. Roddy, you've been down there. Dan, you've been down there. It's close. And good God.
AJ Harris made sure he went into the fence regardless.
I mean,
AJ Harris, that's my boy. I love
Biggest action the fence has gotten since Aaron White jumped in the hedges.
Yeah, that fence was – and hey, shout out to the fence for bending but not breaking. Didn't open. Did not open there.
Wait, hold on. My daughter was – hey, Bella, hey, how old were you when you stumbled into the fence and you went head first? And G-Day, she went head first into the fence.
Don't yell.
She went head first. Look, this one right here. That one right there.
Please tell
this. You're on YouTube.
Oh, I'm on YouTube.
Yeah, you're on live. Yeah. She went.
I think it was like 11.
Yeah, she went head first into the. 11. And I have a picture of her like immediately after when she was like, oh shit, I all fucked up, and I was like, the cops are coming, run, stuff like that. So yeah, she went head first. 3 rows up, dead into the fence. It was hilarious.
I had speaking of fences at Sanford, I was a student there, and I had a buddy who we were friends with Ray Drew, and he was extremely intoxicated. Not Ray Drew, he might have been. Hell, I don't know. But
the pastor?
Yeah. Ray was playing, and my buddy was like, Ray, and so he goes to try to jump over the fence, right? And the GBI just take him down. And they're like, hey, son. He's like, I guess I'm out of here. And they're like, yeah, you're good. So Fence is undefeated over there in
Fence is undefeated
in Sanford Stadium.
We're gonna put this taser somewhere.
Yeah, it was close. It was close. And
they should electrify the fence just to see how people react.
Oh, change it up a little bit. Yeah, because they don't want people standing on it. They don't want anybody touching it. Just electrify it. Let's see what happens. But no, what before we let you go, Anthony, your overall thoughts of the game.
I thought defense played really well. Tyke Smith looked really good tonight. I think the move with Javon back to safety is a good thing. I think defensive line needs to kind of shore up gap integrity. Michael Williams is going to be a monster. I think the corners. I really don't care opposite of Kamari who the corner is, because I think they got a bunch of really, really good players. Obviously, we didn't have Ladd tonight. We didn't have Marcus, Rosemary Jack Saint. We don't have 100% Dejan, 100% Kendall, stuff like that. So, I mean, you're kind of limited. It was good for the younger guys to get in. I would love to see Muse, get that touchdown. That's just good for him. We punted a few times. We kicked some field goals. Field goal. I mean, that was kind of a concern with special teams. Yep. And every kickoff we had did all the kickoffs go touchback?
You're asking a question that
the first one didn't. The kid brought it out.
The first one did not.
But he got tackled in like the 10th.
Okay. That's he muffed it. That's right. On the initial kickoff. So all in all, 48-7. It was slow going. Georgia just does what they do. They just constrict. They're going to get you. There's no reason to try to go side to side with Georgia, but everybody wants to, just because if you think you can go fast, you can catch us off guard, but you really can't. So, but other than that, I'm stoked, man. 48-7, no serious injuries. Carson Beck's going to learn from this. Gunner and Stock still are playing for the number 2 spot, and I'm happy to be back on the PAW show.
Hey, Anthony, you came in tonight very calm, and I wasn't expecting that. So I like how you kind of throw me off, because I hyped you up before you came on, and then here you are relaxing, chilling. So
is it because of the stuff that we did beforehand? Did that disengage, Anthony?
I don't know.
Oh no, I loved every bit of it. That was awesome. No, I came on totally I knew exactly how I was going to be. I'm getting yelled at by my wife too. So,
well, go take care of the wife, and we'll see you next Saturday around 3:30, huh?
Absolutely. I hope I don't overreact too much this time.
All right, man. Well, you take care of that family of yours. We'll talk to you next week.
Love you guys. Everybody hit like and subscribe. Best UGA content ever. Woo!
Dude, that's one of my favorites right there, man.
I love that guy.
I hyped him up too, and he came in all calm. He throws me off, man.
First game of the season, everybody. Yeah. I mean, hey, ESPN had issues. We had technical issues to start the game. They had a couple of technical issues on their first drive, or just it. And as they settled in, they were able to march down the field, and I mean, they're just really talented. And you didn't even have your best players out there. I mean, there's a lot of guys you didn't have. Small Munden gets in for one play, chases a guy down.
Oh man, I tweeted that out.
That was so funny, because it just seemed like he kind of let himself on the field.
What the hell are you doing out there?
I think it was one of those things where he was like, "Hey, we need a stop here," and they put Munden in there, and man, so we haven't talked about the defense at all, guys. Let's dive into that a little bit. I'm a big Jamon Dumas-Johnson fan, right? I think he's excellent. You could tell, though, even on that one play, you need Munden in there to be his, if you want to call it Batman, Robin, I don't know who you want to be, yin and yang. He needs Munden in there with him, because there were some plays where he was just running after the quarterback for UT Martin, and he couldn't catch up to him. He was behind him the whole time. And Munden really is a game changer, I think, for this defense. And just, you saw it, right? You saw the one play he got in, he made a killer tackle. Another thing that I don't know if this is concerning, Ben, I'll throw it to you. Your top 3 tacklers, Malachi Starks with 8, Tyke Smith with 6, and Javon Bullard with 4, were all defensive backs. I didn't see much from the defensive line. Is there something to worry about here or cause a concern?
Well, I thought it was interesting how they rotated. Like one of the first series they had, I think it was Darius Smith, Michael Williams, Jordan Hall, and I forget the fourth guy. I think it was Jalen
Walker. Yeah,
I think Jalen Walker, right. So
Jaguar
they were using, and Kristen Miller was in most of the first quarter. Like a lot of the D-line rotation was kind of unique to me. They rotated early, and I think some guys got more snaps than I would have anticipated. So I just don't think that many guys had the opportunities, and I think they did a lot of quick passes. So I look at it that way and say I don't really mind who's the leading tackler, because I've kind of said tackles, in my opinion, are slightly an overrated stat in the sense that you can kind of fall in a pile and get a tackle. So I'm not worried that a defensive lineman isn't racking it up, because the DBs a lot of the time on those outside runs are going to clean up anyway.
Curtis Maximus says, how many tackles did Starks end up with? He was amazing. 8 tackles for Starks. Player of the game on the defensive side of the ball? Yay, nay? Who agrees? No? Yes? I think Starks was. He was
From
all
an
over the field.
expectation standpoint, I thought Tyke had a really good game.
Hey, Tyke's my boy now. You know?
I know. And like,
if I was going to give it to anybody, it would be Tyke. But I think Malachi took it. Both of them played really well, though. Was there anybody else?
I don't know. Kyron Jones with that pick 6 is pretty big.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was nice.
I wouldn't get player of the game, but I was saying I was happy for the kid from Charlotte.
People wanted him at running back.
honestly, the most exciting play defensively to me was watching Jordan Hall and Michael Williams do a stunt off of each other and just completely obliterate the pocket. Because I'm looking at like down the line and being like, okay, I can see how that combination works well together. And the fact that like Michael can do that from the inside as well, yeah, he's gonna have a special year.
Only one sack tonight, guys. That was Michael's sack. Was that just is there something to overreact to there? Was that the type of plays that UT Martin was running?
That's what UT Martin did. I mean, look, how long did he hold the ball? It was
not very long.
And that's why, they went to the outside a lot. They avoided the center. That's why Tyke Smith had such a big night. That's why Javon Bullard had such a big night. That's why Malachi Starks had such a big. Your secondary guys had a lot of, and again, that's also very common for Georgia to do, especially when they're a lot of times they funnel to the inside linebackers. If Smile Munda were on there, he'd probably have a lot more. But that's just a lot of that was scheme. That's just what they tried to. How it wound up, they got the ball out fast. And on that, Michael Williams, I mean, I'd like to go back and watch it, but I'm pretty sure he took that left guard on, just kind of stood him, stacked him, peeked into the backfield. And then when the quarterback started running, he just pounced on him. It's like, you are giving up 50, 60 pounds to that guard, and you just held him in place like he was a child. That was fun to watch.
Too true.
I think you have to give Malachi Starks, 8 tackles, 3 solo. He didn't pop off the screen like Tyke Smith did. I said halfway through the show, we got to give Tyke Smith a helmet sticker. That's his first major action that it seemed like he was everywhere because we know he can cover. The question is, can he be stout against the run? And I thought he was pretty damn stout against the run. And that bodes well for this. And again, they gave up a touchdown to the second or third string. I don't know how many second and third team guys were in there. And even that wasn't a touchdown. So it really basically should have been 48-0.
Paul, with Tyke, like preseason, that's one that I said Okoye was going to take his spot. If Tyke plays like that, I'll take the L on that one because Tyke was great tonight.
Yeah, he was. He had a tackle for loss as well on his stat line.
And Paul, they're going to face worse offensive lines potentially in conference than that. South Carolina's offensive line might be the worst position unit in the conference. They gave up 9 sacks tonight. And I think there was another couple intentional groundings. I don't know if they were counted on the sack chart. But if they were, if they weren't, that could have been up to 10 sacks. And he got hit a ton. And Florida's offensive line was a joke against a small Utah team. Like, they're going to face some lines where I think in that rotation, they're going to be able to tee off this season compared to years last. They're going to face worser trench play this year.
Worser?
Oh, yeah, much worse. Much worse. I'll just say much worse.
I thought this was an interesting comment from Vanessa Wallace. Did y'all hear Kirby call out the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator for calls they were making? Yeah, I don't know if he said that on the in that little interview on.
I know. No, he did.
Quarter.
No, he did. In the beginning of the fourth quarter interview, he was just talking about how the guys, the players, needed to show some enthusiasm. He wanted to see some of that. There wasn't any.
And that must have been the one in the Bulldog Radio Network when he was with Shockley, but he did say we had some bad calls, or something along those lines. But he also said that we need to make plays around our quarterback. We need to make missed tackles. Right when the game started, there were some missed tackles. There were some containment issues. You had a quarterback who can run, but he shouldn't be able to run for 26 yards down the field before somebody has to get off a wide receiver to tackle him. You had drop passes, inaccurate passes, missed blocks. But he did say something about the couple calls there. But is Kirby going to call out either one of them? No.
Yeah.
So my point is sometimes it's just a throwaway line. Like we had some bad calls there, and in other words, they did something and we should have adjusted to it. But he's not going to be. He sounded he put a good spin on it, is what I'll say.
We do have the press conference uploading right now. It should be uploaded. It should be now. So we'll get that up. I know somebody had asked if we're going to watch that on here. We probably will once we dwindle down with all the callers calling in here.
This is also one of those things, too, that, like, look, you're talking about Bobo and Schumann and Muschamp. Like, that's the Kirby inner circle. So, like, they can be brutally honest with each other, and it results in what's best for Georgia. So I wouldn't necessarily even if those comments are true or they lead to something or they indicate something. I'm not sure. I didn't hear the context with DJ Shockley, but they're all kind of learning this together. Kirby and Bobo haven't worked in this capacity before, and so working out the kinks between them on a headset, that's something that needs to happen before SEC play.
Yeah.
Paul, I have a question. How many people in here have already said fire Bobo?
Oh, man.
See, that's silly to me.
Probably 50, I would say. Yeah.
Man, that's back.
Yeah.
That's silly to me. Like that.
Yeah. Close to 50 or so would be my guess. It when we first started the show, if you scroll all the way up to those comments up there, almost every one of those was get rid of Bobo, fire Bobo. Hot
one
takes.
game.
But see, that's what up to it. That's where I played the result of look how many points that offense manufactured with walk-ons, and you don't have Lab McConkey, and you don't have Marcus Rosemy-Jackson, and your best running back's probably out for the season, and yet they still did all that with a quarterback that I personally don't think is going to be the promised land, whatever. But to me, I thought, yeah, there were a couple questionable things, mainly at the end of the second quarter. You can't run Cash Jones right there. I love Cash. Cash should get the ball always, whatever. You can't run the ball when you don't have a timeout.
You also had two running backs who have never played before.
Right.
You're giving the ball to Roderick Robinson. He's taking it.
Yeah. Well,
and Andrew Paul getting it for the first time. I mean, that's good luck having either one of those guys in there in pass protection situations. But I don't think Georgia – did Carson Beck ever get hit?
Let's see here. The stat line.
QB hurry, sack.
I don't see anything here. Let me double check. You're asking questions I should have the answers to, but I don't
think they ever got sacked.
I don't see a sack on here, but
yeah,
I'm also not looking in the right place. What about
no sacks?
That's also with the left tackle making his first start. There's a lot of adversity that had to be overcome and proven in the first game, and Georgia scored a lot of points. And so
Red and Black Dog says #fire Bobo ... up a grill and cook that man a steak. Look at it. What a turn there. What a turn. What about old Roderick Robinson II? First game in Athens is a tank. Absolute monster out there.
240.
Yeah. I mean, eight attempts, 50 yards, 1 touchdown. He did have that 23-yard long run, average 6.3 a carry. That kid right there, how much I'm assuming he's going to get he's going to be in that rotation once Dejan comes back. He's a bruiser, guys.
Roddy, I just imagine early November, some game just needs to be iced at the end, and you have Roderick Robertson because he's a big dude, and then Laneith Whitehead's kind of up to speed by that point, and George is just throwing these big ass running backs at people. I just imagine that happening.
Yeah, he looked really good. What do you think, Ben?
I thought I think he had that big run. What was it? I think it was a toss play out to the left. And I just said I think the burst, obviously not the fast guy because he's so big, but I thought his burst was more than I thought it would be. And I thought as the game went on, kind of like I brought up earlier with Beck, I thought his runs were just each time the offensive line and him better and better over the course of the game.
Yeah. Roddy, your take on the 240-pound freshman out of California?
I got some grief. Not that I care about it, but I got some grief when I said he's not a burner. I said he's big, and I said it was in one of our practice reports, or preseason notes. I'm like, this kid, and I think you just saw that he gets that pitch to the outside and takes it 26 yards or something like
23,
that. 23. But again, that's not to say he doesn't have to be DeAndre Swift. He can be Rod Robinson. I mean, he's tough to bring down. He's going to chew people up. Yeah, you'd love it if he had 4.4 speed or something like that. But some guys just don't have it. They don't need it all the time. So I think moving the pile. People can complain about the offensive line. It's simple math. Sometimes they bring more people than you have bodies to block. There were other times, though, one of the touchdown right up the gut where they ran behind Micah Morris, and he just like, okay, we're going in the end zone. Come right here. When they had gone inside and then they'd gone far outside a couple times, and this time they went right off of the guard's inside hip, and he blew everybody up. So when it's hat on a hat, the offensive line got plenty of movement, but there were other times where they blocked 5 guys and there's 2 safeties coming up, or there's a safety and an inside linebacker or a jack. And I'm like, okay, now you have to take advantage of that. And sure enough, they say, okay, if you guys are going to be that aggressive, you're one of those little tunnel screen behind you and watch Muse take it to the house.
I said early on in the show, that was the best play by the offensive line there. Tate Ratledge, all those guys were just out 10, 15 yards in front of Muse.
That's what you let him come through?
Hell of a
behind
play.
him.
Speaking about letting them come through, I guess we'll let them come through the neighborhood, if you will. Jeremy Neighbors, how about that? Look, I mean, the transitions here, Roddy, you got to pay extra for this sometimes. I'm just saying.
Get you us on the fiddler.
Jeremy, what's up, man?
Oh, not much, guys. I wasn't sure if I would get to hop on or not, but I figured I'd try to. It's been a busy day. I was trying to catch as much of the game as I could. I had it on. We had a yard sale going on today.
Did you make some money?
Oh, man, we made a nice chunk of change.
Heck yeah. What was the best item?
I was just about to ask that. Yeah, what was the top item that came out of the sale?
It was predominantly my wife's stuff, so I can't. It was a lot of baby clothes and a lot of fall decor. So
yeah,
a lot of those baby clothes are expensive though. Like some people pay like $80 for a baby outfit. I don't get it, but some people do it.
I mean, if that's what they want to pay, they'll I'll take it. So, but anyways, so what I didn't get to see again a ton. My 2 observations. I thought y'all were talking about the DBs making a lot of tackles, starts in them. Seemed like they were breaking up a lot of screenplays. What I got to catch, and then on offense with Beck, it's a little worrisome. I'm willing to give him some time. Just what worried me was it seemed like he took a little too long in trying to make a decision. I don't know, Dane, if that's something where y'all see, on Film Don't Lie, if the receivers were having trouble getting open or what the deal was. It just seemed like he was taking a little too long to make a decision before he threw. Liked Rod Robinson. And then, I don't really care what anybody says. I'm glad we've got this schedule to start this year to iron some things out before we hit the grind later in the year.
That's one thing I did mention to a couple of buddies of mine. I said, you're lucky that it's UT Martin first and not Oregon first. But who knows? They might have come out and, been ready to go for Oregon. This might have just been a game that didn't get them motivated. And they knew they were going to win. There was a 50-point spread. It might have changed things, but that was my first reaction too. Jeremy, was good to kind of have a slow roll into the season, if you will.
It's an interesting dichotomy too, where like whatever about Georgia's quarterback situation, I know I'm far in one camp and other people disagree, and that's cool, whatever. But like Alabama didn't have a starter until yesterday, and next week they get Texas, and that's gonna be a hard game regardless of what happens there. Georgia doesn't have that hardship in front of them because it's Ball State. And like you say, that's a luxury.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of Alabama, just a quick toss over to them. 56-7, they beat Middle Tennessee State. Jalen Milroe, 194 yards and 3 touchdowns through the air, 2 touchdowns on the ground for the young quarterback over there. So he had 5 touchdowns. Looks like they might have found their quarterback over there.
And to be fair, something else too. I kind of made a joking comment earlier in there. I don't know what's I'm going blank on our punter's name. What's his?
Brett
is he?
Brett Thorson.
Is he a junior or what's his class?
Yeah, we don't really know. He's like 37, I think. Jeremy,
Well,
he came over from Australia.
He's considered to be in his final year, whatever that is.
We need to go talk to that UT Martin guy about coming over because he kept our butts pinned down all night long. I think that was also part of the problem.
Yeah. We mentioned that already. He already transferred once, Jeremy, according to Roddy. He transferred from Charlotte to UT Martin, so you'd have to get a waiver for him. But hey, there's always worth a try because he was the best player on UT Martin's side, I think, tonight by far.
MVP.
Yeah, I think if we're handing out helmet stickers for UT Martin, he probably gets the first one.
I want to give
overall a lot of good kicking and punting on both sides.
Yeah, I want to give Muse credit for even though half those punts went sailing over his head because you keep expecting, well, he won't kick at 60, he won't kick at 65, and he kept doing that. I think Muse still had 50 yards of returns between kickoff returns and punt returns. So
he did. He had exactly 50.
He's gonna break one off here. I mean, that's Isaiah McKenzie in a thicker body. So
my mom called me after the watch along show and said Muse is my favorite player, for whatever that means for everyone. My mom loves.
I think Muse is a lot of people's favorite player.
Yeah,
he's the 5'8" guy that is out there as a walk on and making things work. So
he's Rudy, man.
Huh?
He's Rudy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, people are rooting for him, and he's Rudy too. Yeah, so.
He also looks as old as Rudy's dad. So
yeah, we do need to maybe. I'm not going to be the one to call the NCAA, but maybe checking on some eligibility for him. He looks.
Hold up that I am 12 sign.
Yeah, he looks to be a little older too.
Yeah.
Jeremy, don't want to keep you too long, man. But you got anything else? What are you?
No, that's really all I got. I enjoyed the back and forth between Dane and Ben right there. It was kind of both sides. I was feeling Dane too, but Ben I thought also was kind of helping keep some fans grounded too. I think so. There's some concerns to be there. There's a lot of work to do for this team. But it's UT Martin, and they're still. This team's built to overcome some problems at quarterback, and hopefully, like I said, man, hopefully Beck either gets with it or someone steps in and replaces him.
Either way, Jeremy, I think this team is destined for great things this year. So I think you're all right. If you want to host another yard sale next week, you don't have to keep your eyes to the TV too much. So
where's that baby?
Right.
Yeah, how old is the kid now?
So So we had another one back in July.
Whoa!
Don't you know what causes this?
Whoa. Yeah. You know how to stop that, right?
I know. So my life is a little busy right now. So
well, you got at least 2 under 2 right now.
So
right?
I've got a 16 or 17 month old. Yes, no, he'll be 18 months this September. And then a 2-month-old.
Boy,
you're not going to be sleeping. So these night games, come on with us because you'll be.
I know. So I'm already going to be up for the night. So hey, why not? I'll stay up and watch the POS/PAW show.
You're doing
a question. All right, damn it. All right. What a question though, Roddy. How's that kid doing? And then he goes, "Which one? Well, I've had another one since the last time you saw me."
Dude, give her a chance. She just got rid of the last one.
I mean, unbelievable. I was not expecting that answer at all. I thought he was gonna be like, "Oh, that one. Yeah, he's a year and a half." No, which one, guys? We just popped out another one. Well, congrats on the other kid, Jeremy. So
appreciate it. All right, guys.
And,
I'm
sure we'll see you.
man.
We'll see you next week. Make sure you bring one of the kids on. We won't know the difference. They're really close in height, I bet. So bring one of them on.
All right.
All right, man.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
See, I like Jeremy because Jeremy is probably totally right of being right in the middle of whatever squabble me and Ben had. That's probably the totally appropriate place to be. But we went on the extremes of it. And that's what we did.
I have it written down here. It's about 6 minutes long, that rant was. So if you guys missed it, it'll be on the POS recap show from our man, Bobby Andrews. He does a great job.
We'll upload that to our TikTok, Bob.
Yeah.
Bobby's awesome, man. I love Bobby.
A 6-minute rant on our TikTok. I'm sure that'll get folks to watch. Let's see. Oh, that's a good question. Will Simpson, does Alabama jump to number 1 after their big win?
No.
Who?
Georgia won big. Like,
none of the voters actually watch this game.
That's exactly you. Damn it, Roddy. I was just about to say nobody.
Faster, man.
Yeah, nobody was able to watch
faster,
this
man.
game. Yeah, nobody was able to watch it. So they're going to see the final score. It's 48-7, and they're going to move on. They're going to put Georgia at 1 again because again, this game was. The Dogfather did a great thing. He put out on Twitter how to watch this game, and I did his exact steps. And it would not log me in through the SEC network. It logged me in through ESPN Play. It was a nightmare. I missed the first few plays.
Paul, let me explain to you what we did at the Watch Along show, which is supposed to be a professional broadcast, but it's me involved, so whatever. But like for the first 5 minutes of that game, Coach was doing analysis off of my iPad because like his TV that like is a great TV is something that UGA Sports purchased for this thing. Like we had to do some updates on it, and I got there 2 hours early and did those updates. And yet still, for whatever reason, the streaming gods weren't on our favor, and I had to do some producing wizardry in the moment. But like that shit happens with streaming right now, and this was ESPN Plus only.
Foster says Ben thinks Oregon should be 1.
I did not put them in the playoff. I did not put them in the playoff.
I did.
I said no. Paul, that there should be a correction. Penn State is number 1. Thank you.
How did your Bo do tonight? Your Bo.
Bo's gonna be a Heisman finalist. Get ready for it.
Wait, me and Dane actually have agreement on Bo Nix though. Which, listen, I'll be honest. The only reason I picked him is because of the odds. So.
He's also going to be a first-round pick next year, which is going to be very disappointing for some NFL franchise.
Every quarterback is going to put up like 5 touchdowns a game. So whoever's the best record in the Pac-12, whoever their quarterback is going to win the Heisman because their numbers are inflated. But I'm looking for him.
I found it. Bo Nix, 23 of 27, 287, and 3 touchdowns. They'd be good. God, Portland State. Bo Nix, 23 of 27, 287 for 3 touchdowns.
He didn't have as many yards as Carson Beck.
Drew Allar, elite.
Bo's going to be a Heisman finalist and a first-round pick, and it's going to disappoint whatever NFL franchise he ends up on. Sorry.
They put up 81 points on Portland State. Dan Lanning. Those people have families. Like their mamas are watching this game.
Did you see the Oklahoma score?
81 to 73-0. But that was Butch Jones, so I mean, whatever.
Do y'all think this is preparation for when college football becomes like promotion relegation, like soccer, to where aggregate score matters?
You really want that to happen, don't you?
I really do. Because like Florida would be out of the SEC at this point because they're so bad.
In a few years, the non-conference is going to be worse. Like I think outside of tomorrow, the non-conference schedule week 1 this year was terrible. One of the worst.
It was bad. It was bad.
It's bad. I think now that
South Carolina, North Carolina,
South Carolina,
legitimately out of conference.
You watch their
games.
Offensive line. You said this team should not be in prime time. They do not deserve to be in prime time. They're pathetic. But anyway, why schedule non-conference games when there's an expanded playoff and you're going to have a tougher schedule as is? I don't think teams are going to schedule as much non-conference like competitive teams anymore because you're also going to add a conference game. So I think the non-conference slate over the years is going to get worse.
I mean,
some of
eventually
them you're stuck with now. You're kind of stuck with, but I think in the next 10 years, your teams, Georgia. Why would you schedule Ohio State?
I don't think they will have non-conference schedules in the next 10 years. I just think it'll be all conference of.
I could see that
amazing teams.
I could see that, but at the same time, the small schools, how are you going to get them money?
Well, it might just be an attrition thing at that point.
I mean, you think Georgia cares if these teams get money?
I know, but
eventually they won't.
That is a sad case for a lot of athletes if they're not getting the revenue from these.
Sacred Grove said Dan was getting his get back from the blowout last year on the opener. Damn, it's tough. 81 points is tough, man. Like that's bad.
That's a good squad at Oregon, though. Like I can see them making a run this year. I really can.
Roddy, Dan Lanning drops 81 points on you, and he comes to shake your hand midfield. Are you shaking that man's hand after he just dropped 81?
Oh, I'm shaking it, and I'm crushing it. Hey, man, good job. And he's gonna be. Yeah, I'm gonna put everything into it. We're gonna have some vice grips there. I think Ben Hurst is in the waiting section. We're going to bring him in real quick. But before we get to them, I do want to mention our friends over at ASW. Behind me, I have the fiddler. Dane's already drunk on the fiddler.
Dane is drunk as skunk right now.
Bro,
Folks, I want y'all to understand.
I'm not drunk, but I'm tipsy for sure.
ASW, this is a Georgia bourbon company. They're a Georgia bourbon distillery. They also make rye and vodka. You should try those and a gin. I want you, if you go to these Braves games, the Braves are red hot. You need to be going to Braves games. If you go over to the Battery, they have a tasting room at the Battery. It's ASW at the Battery. They have 2 other locations as well. So there's 3 locations of ASW. This is an award-winning bourbon. They've got all sorts of awards, even for their rye, their Resurgence rye, and their Bustletown vodka. So hit our friends up at ASW Distillery, try it out. And again, the cool thing is they have some stuff that they've done with the Braves. So you need to try them out when you get a chance. If you've had it in the comment section, let us know if you've tried their bourbon. But I want to mention them because this is one of our best sponsors, and not just because they sent me a couple bottles of bourbon. That helps a lot. That helps a lot. But no, they have 6 co-founders, 6 partners. 5 of them are Georgia grads, and this is distilled by dogs. That's her tagline. So don't go drinking stupid bourbon. Get the stuff that is actually made by Georgia graduates.
They're cool as hell too. My guy Chad over there, like, if you use some other stuff for your tailgate and not ASW, like, you're not really helping the dogs. And so if you want to help Georgia, there'll be some more information coming out throughout later in the season.
Oh, they got something coming that's going to blow your damn.
Oh yeah, a really big announcement coming from ASW. We're pumped about it.
Hey, Penn, give us your thoughts, Ben Hurst.
Hey, how are you guys doing? I thought, well, number one, I want to piggyback on that. I have been to ASW. It is legit. You are 100% correct on that. It is very, very good. Anybody who is over there has got to go try it. If you like bourbon, it is the place to be, without a doubt. Sorry. I expect a check in the mail too, Roddy, after I said that.
I got you.
Legitimate, I swear.
I'll take it
anyway, I really thought the offensive line didn't play very good today, and I don't know if I missed some of the show, so I'm not sure if this has been covered. And I know a lot of people have been on Beck here and there, and I just don't know. I think more if I knew what plays were called. He didn't push the ball downfield as much. I don't know if they were protecting him or what was going on. He hadn't played football in 4 years in a real game where it wasn't mop-up duty or whatever. And I think that's part of maybe, that protection until he kind of got his, feet underneath him. It seemed like that pass to Muse that went for a long, all of a sudden he started to get comfortable and started to look a little better. Now, whether he, continues on and continues to improve, that's, to be seen. And also, everybody's kind of talking about Brock. I really like the way Gunner looked, man. That guy's legs are spectacular. I mean, he's not afraid to. I mean, he had 2 plays where the play literally just broke down and there was nothing, and he made 10 yards out of them. And I think that's an important thing, especially if Van Pran doesn't get it together, because that guy whiffed on about 20 blocks in that game. I don't know what was going on with him, but he was horrendous. I just hope they get it together. I think they just were kind of sleepwalking in the first half, and I guess we'll hopefully see a big improvement between game 1 and game 2. That's my hope.
Well, I think you'll see that, but you also scored 48 points. So how big of an improvement do you want to see there, just to be devil's advocate here, Penn?
Well, I mean, I'd like to see it be put away more, late second quarter, early third quarter, where we kind of take, we scored a late touchdown on an interception return, and we were throwing the ball in the fourth quarter, which is not the normal, especially with the third string quarterback, which a lot of people have been calling for. So it's not such necessarily a bad thing, but it's not the norm when we've played those teams. But I will say, thinking back to last year, we played terrible against Kent State. We played terrible against Southern. We just don't seem right now to play well against teams that are below our level, that far below our level. And Alabama went through this a lot in the 2010s. I mean, a ton. It seemed like every time they'd run into a bad team, it'd be 14-7 at half, and you're like, what the heck's going on with them? And
Yeah.
then they're kicking the crap out of everybody when they're playing good teams. So maybe that's part of what's going on too.
It's what Pat Riley called the disease of me, and Roddy even alluded to it in his 3-2-1 report over at UGAsports.com yesterday. To where when Warren Brenton was talking about how great the offensive line was, and Kirby was like, don't be talking about how great people are. Let me humble you a little bit. That stuff happens. And I think against teams like UT Martin, you kind of see that happen more where you're like, Georgia should totally run them out of the building, and Georgia didn't. And so then you start to pick out why. And usually it's just because there's not enough fire.
Yeah, it makes you wonder. I mean, how many times do we just run it up the middle? It seems like they're just trying to to prove a point or something sometimes. Maybe it's something for down the road. I know that sounds ridiculous and crazy, but I mean, how many times did we run it? We ran one up the middle where we were expecting Arian Smith to pick up a linebacker coming in there. I mean, that blocking scheme had no chance to I mean, it was like that was done. I mean, nobody would have run that play on 3rd and 7 or 3rd and 5 or whatever the heck it was with Arian Smith supposed to be your inside blocker. I mean, that just there's no way
go
that
back and
happened.
see that. I don't remember that at all.
When you check it, there's a play where they I think it was a 3rd and 5 or a 3rd and 6 or something like that, and they whiffed on I think it was Van Pran that whiffed on a block, but Arian Smith, they were looking at him because he was supposed to come and duck in, and literally they blew the play up for a 3-yard loss. I mean, it was like the whole left side of the line just like went right. It was the weirdest, and the wide receivers went left, and Brock's.
So you're saying it was a busted play?
Yeah, it was definitely a busted
play. Hang on.
Yeah.
Is it a busted play, or did they actually expect Arian Smith to block a guy?
From what it looked like to me, now again, I could be wrong.
That's where it falls apart.
Right, where Brock was looking at Arian like, what are you doing? You're supposed to be in here. Why would they expect? I mean, that would be something you see maybe from Rosemy or somebody who's, a bigger wide receiver, but not Arian Smith, So it just made me wonder if, maybe he was just trying to give them a little humble pie, and in a subtle sort of way, because it seemed like we had that game under control, and all of a sudden the second half they just open it up, and 20-something points later it's done. You know what I mean? I wonder if that was just part of it to build as the season goes on and see. I'm hoping they'll just look a lot better against Ball State, a lot less sloppy. I mean, even the second units look sloppy today.
Penn Rosemy, Jack Sane is one of the most important players on this team in terms of what he does in wide receiver blocking, and the fact that he was not playing today, it made a big difference. I think there's some things that would have opened up if he was out there doing his thing in the open field. The mismatches that come when you can get him and Bowers on the same side of the formation, those just weren't there today, and Georgia didn't have receivers that could help out with it. McConkey can do some of that too, and again, he didn't play today. So like this was a Georgia offense that did not have its best weapons other than Bowers. Like Bowers is still, one of the best players in the country. But when you don't have McConkey and when you don't have Rosemy and Jack Sane out there, the offense is not going to be as good. And maybe I should add that into my critiques of Beck too, because if he has those two dudes, he's going to be much better as a quarterback.
Right. I heard a little bit of what you said about Beck. I'm not ready to close the book yet on him. I'd like to see, what, like I said, it's really hard. I think, you see Stetson was so experienced, and you see him just know where to go. And when we would struggle with him, I think he was like unfocused for points of the game. It wasn't like Beck today where he just seemed like he was scared to make a mistake early on, and I think that's part of something you have to get over when you hadn't played as long, in a real football game, even against UT Martin. You can simulate it all you want, but when you're playing out in front of those fans, it's a totally different ball game. And I think that's what he went through in the first half. I think he was seeing ghosts. And then, when like I said, that pass with Muse, it was like everything just the ocean kind of, everything just kind of split. And all of a sudden he started to get more comfortable. He looked more comfortable. And I like to see if that translates next week. And, he's 20 for 25 in the first half, for 270 yards and 4 touchdowns. You know what I mean?
Very well could be, my man. Well, I appreciate you. You're a dipper, Penn?
I used to be, not anymore. Grizzly
Oh.
was my dip of choice, but not in 3 years. So
Hey, well, keep going, man. Because I thought maybe you had a little dip in and you're just enjoying Saturday night.
that would have been something I would have done in the past. I have had some bourbon though tonight, so
There you go. There you
did
go.
do that. A
Well,
little Basil Hayden.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you calling in, Penn, and we'll talk to you next week after hopefully another win for Georgia against Ball State, right?
Sounds good. Hey, you boys have a good night.
All right, brother. Take it easy.
All right, man. All right.
I've had bourbon too, and that's why I'm about to slip out and do it before I do something that gets me fired by Roddy, because that's not what I need to do on behalf of ASW.
All right, Dane. Well, you take it easy, my friend.
Thanks, guys. Enjoyed it.
See ya.
See you, Dane.
All right. Now there was 3. You guys want to go around the league a little bit or no?
Sure, I have not paid attention to what else is going on, so I'd love to know what the hell's going out there.
That's why I'm here for you. That's why I'm here for you, baby. That's why I'm here. So we normally go around the league. So let's go around the league a little bit here. Michigan, your number 2 ranked team, 30-3 against East Carolina, excuse me. So they didn't blow the socks off of East Carolina, but East Carolina is also a FBS school. Tennessee dropped 49 on Virginia, 49-13. The game of the day by far, bar none, Colorado TCU. Travis Hunter,
special,
best player in college football. I think he's top 3,
right up there with Brock Bowers.
Yeah, Brock's up there. It's Brock, Harrison, and Travis Hunter.
Paul,
you can put him in.
Paul, if he keeps up this pace, you might just have to give him the Heisman because he's a true two-way player.
He played 120 snaps today, Roddy.
Last guy that did that would be one Champ Bailey, who's in the Hall of Fame.
And the guy before that, Charles Woodson. And Charles only played sporadically on offense and won the Heisman. So
didn't Prime himself also play 2 ways?
Who?
Didn't Deion play 2 ways as well? Florida State?
He might have. I mean, he played baseball. He played everything else. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure he played some receiver because I know he was a return specialist and a corner.
See, there's a difference, though, with playing some receiver. And Travis Hunter played all of receiver and all of defensive back. He played everything. He played every snap for them. Crazy how TCU.
I don't know if at the NFL level, I doubt they're going to make him do 2 ways. There's no.
Oh God, no. Yeah, God,
there's no
but,
way. His body would break in after 2-3 years. No
but
way.
They came out, beat TCU, who Georgia played in the national title. So another just stomping.
Georgia broke TCU.
Yeah, that you could very well say that. Yeah.
That makes me question Michigan. It really does. I understand TCU is a new team, but you know how many bowl wins Harbaugh's had? I think he had 1 his first year. Since then, he hasn't won a bowl game. Non-conference, he lost to Notre Dame. Outside the Big Ten footprint, when he faces athletic fronts, his teams don't do well. I'm just saying that's why I'm not buying Michigan this year.
Yeah. Foster says Travis Hunter may start to get drug tested after games. You keep it up. Yeah, that was.
If I'm playing him, I'm like, yeah, y'all need drug test that son of a bitch. He's too good.
120 snaps, man. Like,
dude. Hey, okay. I know that Ben remembers this.
Yeah.
I went on the vault at UJSports.com, told people months ahead of the signing day that Travis Hunter would not sign with FSU.
Yep.
He would be a Bulldog. I got called every day with the book, which is fine because I didn't believe it either. But I'm telling you, I got it from inside.
It was close.
And
it was close.
Then all of a sudden they're like, okay, he's like, no, man, fake news. I think he called me out on it. He's like, fake news. And then the day of, everybody's like, okay, he's supposed to announce at a certain time, and that time came and went.
Right.
And it started getting crazier and crazier. And everyone starts looking at me like, what do you know? I'm like, I'm just telling you, Georgia expects to land him. But then when my contact to Georgia dried up completely, they're like, we can't get a hold of him. We've been trying. He's supposed to announce he's coming to us. We know what he said about FSU. And then all of a sudden, Jacksonville State. You're like, son of. But
yeah,
he still didn't go to FSU, so I was half right. But the point is, this kid was. Can you imagine him being out there today for Georgia?
Oh,
but Kirby would only play him at DB.
Yeah,
Kirby loves DB.
But he was within a gnat's whisker of being a Georgia Bulldog. So
Georgia was second.
I would love this.
Not Florida State. Florida State.
Yeah, he came out and admitted that. So
Florida State was, I think, 3rd or 4th.
Yeah.
Sacred Grove says, can that be sustained playing both sides? I don't think so, but I mean,
maybe in college for a year, but not long term. There's no chance.
But to what Richard said after the game, Travis was not gassed at all and said he was ready to go back out there. They interviewed him after the game. He was laughing, and
he's different, folks. He's different.
Yeah, he's a different breed. Different.
At Collins Hill, some of the games he had there were just ridiculous. He's the best two-way. I mean, since Champ Bailey at minimum. So
shout out to him. Oklahoma broke the spirits of Arkansas State 73-0. If you're following along, this is an interesting one to follow along with. So apparently, Kirk Ferentz up at Iowa said he would fire his son, the offensive coordinator, if they don't get above 25 points per game. Well, they won today, 24-14. So he's 1 point below already on the season.
That's got to be awful. Like, think about it. If you fire your own kid, he's not getting another job, so he'd get demoted. I'd figure he'd get demoted because he's not going to fire him. He'd be like, "You're an analyst."
Well, he has to get to 25 points, and he's 1 point down now, so he's got to score. You know, if you're going to follow, we'll follow along with that throughout the year. He's 1 point down now. Ole Miss put a stomping to the Mercer Bears, 73-7. Damn, 81-7. We've already talked about Oregon. Here's one. Ohio State, I thought they were going to show out today. They did not.
They were awful in the first half.
Yeah, 23-3 against Indiana. They went to halftime up 10-3. So it could have been worse, Dog fans. Could have been worse.
I was going to use that on Blaine in our debate because we're going to top the first take undisputed, me and Blaine. And I was going to say the McCord kid, they benched him for a temporary period of time for Devin Brown right before the half. And then they said we're going to go back to McCord in the second half. So they're already having quarterback struggles.
Rice lost to Texas 37-10. Quinn Ewers, 260 yards. JT Daniels. That is his third time, if you're keeping up with it, third time playing Texas with his third different team. So I don't think you'll ever see that again. Quinn Ewers, 260 yards, 3 touchdowns. I don't think we saw Arch Manning today. Let me just check his box score. We did not. Malik Murphy was the backup. Yeah, so did not see a Arch Manning sighting there. Notre Dame beat up on Tennessee State. Wisconsin beat up on Buffalo. Oh, boy. Caleb Williams, Roddy.
Yeah.
319 yards, 5 touchdowns. Was out there looking like Patty Mahomes reincarnated. Throwing you got it. Yeah. If you guys haven't watched it because you were watching Georgia, there's some highlights out there. Caleb Williams.
Best high school quarterback I've seen up close. Because I'm from this area. I saw him. He's the best high school quarterback I've seen up close. Special.
I know that Ben has a rule about Heisman winners getting back-to-back.
Yeah.
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 I also know that sports writers and sports and voters are lazy. Like, well, we gave it to him once. He put up bigger numbers. We'll give it to him again. I get your point. They don't like to do the same guy back-to-back, but I could also see him going, well, we got to justify what we did last year. So
he probably I think will put up better numbers this year. He's got a better supporting cast this year.
Well, the reason I did that, Roddy, is because they've never done it before and they're harder on repeat winners. So I was just like, I'm not going to do it.
No, I'm with you. I get it.
If there was a past history, I was saying just it's a lock. It's a lock. I would have done that because the rest, who else do you trust with the Heisman? So my philosophy was the Pac-12 has no defense. Pick the next best Pac-12 quarterback. And I thought Paul was going Penix. So I was like, all right, I'm going Bo Nix.
I'm with you. I'm just saying the rule that they won't do it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Next game on the slate here, Texas A&M showed up, 52 points against New Mexico. Connor Wegman seems to be the starter for those guys down there. Max Johnson had a touchdown, though, local kid here from North Oconee.
Yeah. Max. Good job.
Yeah, Max had one. Alabama, 56-7. Like I said, they found their quarterback, I think, in the Milrow kid. 3 touchdowns through the air, 2 on the ground. So I think that competition is probably done. Penn State, Ben's team, 38-15 over West Virginia. Drew Aller, 325 yards and 3 touchdowns.
He's good.
Yeah. South Carolina in the Dukes Mayo Classic. How many damn Dukes Mayo games has South Carolina been in? I mean, it's every year they're in a Mayo competition.
Yeah, they're in the bowl, they're in the kickoff.
Yeah, they lost this one 31-17 to North Carolina. Spencer Rattler had 353 yards without a touchdown. That's tough.
Look at how many times he was sacked.
How many times he got sacked? Let's see. Does it show on the box score on ESPN? Because that's where I would get it.
Are you on Bleacher Report?
No, I'm on.
It says he got sacked 9 times.
Jeez. That's tough. Let's see here. I'm trying to find any other games. That looks like the top 25. Let's just make sure we got all the SEC schools for you.
I know Kentucky beat up on Ball State.
Yeah, so Ball State, who's coming to Georgia next week, Kentucky 44-14 over them. Arkansas with the win over Western Carolina, 56-13. Auburn 59-14 over UMass. Mississippi State 48-7. Again, Ben, yeah, you were right. This schedule is atrocious. And then Vandy 47-13 over Alabama A&M. First 2-0 team in the conference.
First place in the SEC.
Yeah, first
He
place.
might be right. We're anchored down.
Yeah, they are first place.
Can't wait to see Arch Manning transfer next year. Yep.
Yeah. I don't know where he's going to go, though. Be interesting where he's going to go.
I'm not buying Texas at all, Paul.
All right, so any buy highs or sell lows right now, Ben, throughout the –
All right, I'll tell you in the East. Kentucky will be the second best team in the East. I'm buying them over Tennessee. That's one of my bold takes because I think a lot of people have Kentucky third or fourth. I think they're second. I'm high on them this year. South Carolina's a sell. I told you, if you are they may be the worst offensive line in the conference and one of the worst defensive lines. I'm not buying South Carolina. So there's sell.
There you go.
That's my SEC buy sell. Buy Kentucky, sell South Carolina.
Getting back to this Georgia game, guys, 48-7. A couple names we haven't mentioned so far. Brock Bowers, 5 receptions, 77 yards. Rushing touchdown. The man can do it all. I don't know what else you need to say about him.
Dylan Bell, I thought, had a good day.
Dylan Bell had
how many yards did Brock Bowers have after contact, though?
It doesn't – yards – oh, my God. Okay. All right. So he had 77 receiving yards, Roddy.
Right.
How many yards after contact?
I'd say 50.
So I think you're close.
He broke 3 tackles in one play.
I was going to say 55.
So he has 71 yards after catch. So
he had 71 yak?
Yeah, he's had 71 yak. There's not a stat. I don't see it, yards after contact, but he had 71 yak, and he got hit pretty close to that. I would say probably 55, 60. But 71 yards out of the 77 were yak yards, which is baffling. Cass Jones, how about it? 4 receptions, second on the team in receptions. Also had, what did he have? 3 rushes for 5 yards. Not the best day for Cash on the ground, but he did help out in the run game a little bit. Pass game. Mekhi Muse, we talked about him. Go ahead, Ronnie.
You got your number 2 and number 3 receivers. And remember how deep they are. Remember, you got Lad McConkey, you got Dominic Lovely, you got Ra Thomas, you got Dylan Bell, Marcus Rosemy, Jack Sink, Arian Smith, Cole Spear, Zeed Haynes, who the freshman that balled out today, Smith.
CJ Smith, yeah.
CJ Smith. You one of the deepest tight end group or wide receiver groups you've had in a long time. But your number 2 and number 3 wide receivers on the day, Cash Jones with 4 catches, Mekhi Muse 3 catches, 7 catches together for 100 yards. Walk-ons. Again, I'm not crapping on walk-ons. I am the biggest walk-on guy. That's one of the first things I did when I came into the business. I met walk-ons. I took pictures of them. I became friends with them. They gave me so many tips and things about how the game's played, what Georgia does. I got in really good with them, and some of the guys I still stay in contact with are former walk-ons. I love them to death. But my point is, this game, your second and third leading receivers and your first one was Brock Bowers, which is fine. I got no problem with Brock, a tight end being a wide receiver because to me he's more wide receiver than anything else. But you relied on a running back in Cash Jones, not Dejan Edwards, not Branson Robinson, a walk-on running back and a walk-on wide receiver who's 5'8". And they did wonders for you. So I'm just saying this is a really good team. And imagine if you were healthy that you didn't need those guys to be your second and third leading receivers. Again, we can all freak out over some bad drives, some bad play calls. And again, to me, some of the play calls, people are like, oh, that was a stupid play call. Why'd you run up the middle? Because you should be able to run against the Joe Moore Award nominees, at some point, but you don't know when they're going to bring 4, when they're going to bring 6, when they're going to bring 8. And a couple times they brought 8. They guessed right. And if they don't guess right, you gash the hell out of them like you did. How many long plays did you have? Rushing yards, long, 37, 23, 14, 9. Longest receiving yards, 23, 12, 54, 17, 25, 47, 56. So when they guessed wrong, they got their asses handed to them. But we're only focusing on the ones where, oh my God, they ran right up the middle and, Cedric Van Pran didn't get his guy. Well, Cedric Van Pran might have blocked his guy, but if the linebackers are zipping through the A gap, how many guys is he supposed to block? So, again, it'd be fun to break the film down, but I'm just saying that I love the fact that Cash Jones, Mekhi Muse, 2 walk-ons are your second, third leading receiver for 100 yards and 7 catches.
You also had a pretty big play here. Ra Thomas got into the game, had that pass
from throw.
That pass from Vandegrift.
That was dumb.
Yeah, that was Vandegrift's first completion as a Georgia Bulldog.
Can we go back to the series before that? Okay. Well,
oh man, yeah.
On that one, let's go back on that series. Brock comes in, throws that 56-yard bomb, right? And then they score on the next play. He goes 77 yards in 2 plays.
Yep, that pass to Oscar Delp for a touchdown, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, is Delp's first touchdown as a Georgia Bulldog.
Yeah,
Ben, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's right.
Was that literally his first pass?
First pass ever was officially to Ra Thomas, his first completion. He was 0 for 3.
Okay.
Vandegrift was, and then he had the pass to Oscar Delp on the drive before, but it got called back for holding, so it didn't count. And then his first official pass, Ra Thomas, 56 yards.
So the drive before that, 3 plays minus 4 yards. 2 penalties on that drive. 2 big plays on that drive. Both of them called back. And I'm like, man, you're killing me. You're just killing me. So I was glad to see that he goes out there and it looks like, oh my God, here's why Carson Beck's your starter. He has 3 plays minus 4 yards. But again, that wasn't on him. That was other people letting him down.
Oh, yeah.
Holding, what was Austin Blasky had one, and then Micah Morris, I think, had the other, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it was Micah Morris.
Yeah.
Second touchdown for Delp on his career, by the way.
Nice.
Yeah, South Carolina last year had a touchdown.
Yeah.
There you go. So, that was a nice stick in your eye for a cat that almost went to South Carolina. So,
right.
Yeah, let's hey, and they do stuff like that on purpose. Don't think that they don't. Don't think it's just happenstance. But my point is, when Brock Vandegrift gets in there, that's why I say this quarterback competition was tighter than a lot of people suspect. You have 3 really talented quarterbacks, not elite, but really good. And you see what they can do with the offense. I thought Gunner looked good when he was out there. Again, you're going with 3s versus their 2s or whatever. But as Kirby wasn't lying when he said they all looked good with the offense. They can run the offense. They know what to do. But, man, Brock this is what I'm trying to say. Brock's throw on the money, accurate. What's the big thing people say about him? Well, he's not as accurate. He's more of a runner. And then what's the thing about Carson Beck? He's really accurate. He's not much of a runner. Carson showed he could run. Brock showed he could throw.
Yeah.
Gunner showed he can do everything. You got 3 quarterbacks I think you can win a title with. I'm not with the Dane school. If you can't win with those guys, I think you can. But you need that defense doing what they do with the pitching shutouts. And good special teams. I thought the special teams were lights out. Maybe one doink on a PAT, but you could punt, you could kick. It's interesting, though, that Peyton Woodring, true freshman, again, another true freshman.
Guess who called that, baby?
Hey,
Paul,
so how many guys are out there for the first time?
Easy way out, Paul.
Left tackle, wide receivers, running backs. A lot of new people out there.
We had
the fact that nobody took Damon
quarterback.
Baffling to me. That's still baffling.
Look, we had that as a Sunday thing, Roddy, on one of our call-in shows. We had everybody pick the true impact or the most impactful true freshman. And everybody picked somebody, and I picked Woodring, and look at me go.
You're the kicker guy. Didn't you pick in our all-time Kirby draft? You're like, I'm taking Hot Rod right here,
Damn
like the
right.
6th round. I was like,
damn right. Whatever. One guy that didn't hear anything about really in the offseason, and I was surprised he was out there, and he made some good plays. CJ Smith, 2 receptions, 57 yards, had a 47-yard. Was that the? Excuse me if I'm wrong. I think that was the catch and run, right? Like over the middle.
Yeah,
that was his first catch of his career, I think.
Yeah. Where'd this guy come from, Roddy? He kind of got pushed off and not rode off, but he had injuries and everything.
I pointed out the times I was right, but I'll point out the times I was wrong. I thought that the freshman wide receiver that we were going to see have that kind of game was Zeke Haynes, 13. He just had that thing about him. But we had been hearing about CJ Smith. He's really fast. He's starting to work in with the ones. But I'm like, he's good. But I'm telling you, Zeke Haynes, that's going to be your guy, because we saw him doing a lot of return stuff, and every time that we were out there, which is, again, a fraction of 1%. I'm like, man, this kid, Kirby's calling him out like he calls out the guys that he wants to push.
Yeah.
I think Zeke Haynes has that kind of it factor about him. But man, CJ, to get that many, he had 2 catches, but he played a lot of snaps. I love looking at the snap count that comes out from UGA Sports, where you can see how many snaps these guys got, because that's a true freshman. With all those other guys on the roster, they got a lot of snaps. He's going to be a badass.
Zeke Haynes was out there. He had 1 catch for 20 yards. Curious to see, you have 4 games, right, Ben, before you run out of eligibility to be redshirted. Curious to see how many of these guys, him and Anthony Evans, if they play more than 4. Curious on that.
Yeah, because I know CJ Smith, they already redshirted him. So they
already redshirted him last year. Right. But you got Zeke and Cole Spear made an appearance as well, caught a pass too.
Made a couple good blocks too.
Andrew Paul. Yes, he only had 18 yards, but he came back from a pretty nasty injury and looked decent out there from everything I saw. It wasn't terrible.
First game in college.
Right. I'm curious to see how much he'll be used moving forward. I did not expect Roderick Robinson to be used as much as he was. Was that a surprise to you, Roddy?
Did you read my 3-2-1 report?
Probably. Yeah, maybe.
Now, here's the thing. I was wrong. I was completely wrong about Kendall Milton. I thought that they would not play him because I didn't think you needed to. I said that I told everybody Dejan Edwards would be out. Right about that. But I said Kendall Milton probably won't play because you don't need him to. I mean, he could, but I don't think that, why hurry back with that hamstring thing? But they apparently just massaged it and took care of it enough that he actually looked pretty good out there. And again, he had that long run, and I feel horrible because my first thought on his long run was, don't hurt your hamstring, don't hurt your hamstring. That's not fair, man. Go all out.
When was
I said Cash Jones, Andrew Paul, and Roderick Robinson would get most of the carries. I thought that would be like the only 3 to carry the ball. But hey, shout out to Kendall Milton for coming out and he wanted to be on the field, and he is so strong and so big. I'm excited that he's out there. But yeah, Roderick Robinson. Oof.
When was I have goldfish brain here? When was Kendall's 37-yard run? When was that?
Was that the second quarter?
Yeah, second quarter. He went off left.
Yeah, it was second quarter.
Side,
okay. All right. Just
people that want to bitch about the pitch to the edge. I mean,
Brett Thorson, 5 punts, 2 inside the 20, 150 plus. And then, like we said, Woodring from 23 and 33. And then he had the doink, but he hit all of his PATs as well. On the defensive side of the ball, guys, like we already talked about, Stark, Smith, and Bullard were your top 3 tacklers. When did I miss this? Troy Bowles?
When they went to second, third string, he had a couple. He was there pretty well.
All right.
Julio playing that inside middle linebacker spot, and they were funneling stuff to him, and he was dropping them. He had one. I thought he had a tackle for loss, but I guess it was right at the line.
They had Humphrey in there. Dan Jackson had 3 tackles. I tweeted that out. I was like, and I told you, Ben, I was like, we're talking about this depth at secondary.
That's your boy. You're the king of the Dan Jackson. You're in the Dan Jackson. Yeah.
And here we are, Dan Jackson showing up first drive. out there making a tackle. Just insanity. Jacoby Thomas, another guy. Man, this is going to take forever. Just so you know, Roddy, the PFF grades. They played a ton of guys.
Dude, you've got nothing better to do. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah. 4 tackles for loss.
Family.
4 tackles. I'm telling you, it's going to take me 3 hours to do this shit. But we do it for the people. So Mikel Williams, Gabe Harris with a tackle for loss, Everett with a tackle for loss, and then also Tyke. 2 pass breakups. Zion Logue had a pass breakup. Was that?
Yeah,
that was
he blocked that pass.
Yeah. That was Logue. Okay.
Did you see him get to the sidelines? Like I could have caught it. It hit him like in between the big paws, and the instinct is to bat it down, but he's like, I could have just snatched it and been gone the other way. Nobody would have stopped him.
I normally don't shout out the trolls that are in the chat, but I have to right here. Lackadaisical.
Yeah, lackadaisical.
Lackadaisical.
Yeah, that's not how you spell that.
Oh yeah, Smell London playing today. We didn't bring that up.
Yeah, we did. You
guys did?
Yeah, you were asleep.
So he had that one play where he runs down runs the guy down out of bounds, or just blows the play up. He starts to go back in. Kirby jumps in front of him like, whoa. No, that's it. That's all you get. We bursted out laughing because it was so funny to watch him slam the brakes on. It's like that's enough from you. So
yeah.
But again, you're a potential all SEC guy. You didn't even play him.
Let's bring on the old the newcomer, Riley. Let's see what he's got to talk about, if he knows anything good.
Yeah.
Lance, you were able to get there to the stadium. I know you had some car troubles. You were able to get home?
Yeah, it didn't wreck. No car broke down on me. It was a relatively good day.
He's been with us for what, 2 weeks, Roddy? He's had 2 cars break down on him in 2 weeks.
The first night I went to cover a game with Jed, broke down 5 minutes from my house.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if he drove it as slow as you do, he'd still have the same cars.
He would.
You still have that white Charger?
No, hell no. I got rid of that. I've grown up. It was a Camaro. It was a Camaro RS. It's long gone. I got a GMC Sierra wrapped with my business logo. Speaking of, I need to put a Canva together. That's who's going to be sponsoring the show too. My own business. That's how it works here. I tried to hire on another company and they didn't get back.
I expect those checks.
Yeah. They didn't get back to me.
Hey, Lance, you actually were in the press conference. We haven't played it yet. When I close this out, I'm going to definitely want to watch what Kirby Smart had to say. And you interviewed Carson Beck. So you've got the inside skinny. Any injuries we need to know about? Any news we haven't watched the press conference yet. So what did Kirby have to say?
Ladd, he just said Ladd had a back injury.
Which we reported.
Yes. Somebody asked about Marcus Rosemy-Jackson. Obviously, he didn't say anything, but suspended.
Suspended, which we reported.
I'm assuming.
Really, how long suspended for? 1 game, 2 games, 3 games, 4?
I would assume
Bluefish.
Roddy might be able to answer that better, but I assume 1. I assume Danon Morissette is 1 game because I believe Bullard was suspended 1 game when he got a DUI last year. I believe. Carson Beck talked a lot about how the offense obviously improved. In his words, he said that they didn't really come out slow or lethargic. They were just, it may have been, and Kirby said that too, it may have been emotions. It may have been just a little bit of, just being, maybe nervous. I don't know. But Carson, took responsibility for some of those throws that were missed. But he said if he had to give a game ball, he would give a game ball to Mekhi Muse. And Kirby said he doesn't give game balls until like Monday, but if he had to guess, he would give one to Muse as well.
Yeah, they've been hyped, like good for Muse, but when was the last time like Kirby really hyped up somebody like that? I can't remember him ever going to a post-game press conference and saying, "Hey, I'm gonna give the game ball out." Like he's talked about him all spring, all fall. Good for Muse. He must be a hell of a worker in practice.
So I actually have a friend that coached him at Central Gwinnett. My friend Eli Autry, he was the head baseball coach. Now he's at McEachern. And he said that he's just a hell of an athlete, and he's a hell of a kid too. I believe Mekhi's junior or senior year, he won Region Player of the Year. And I mean, for a team like Central Gwinnett, who's not very good at football, for him to the Parkviews, the Brookwoods of the world, the Graysons, all those kind of GCO schools, Gwinnett County, are all in like the same region. For him to ball out like that, I guess junior senior year, and then get the attention here, and then work his way up, I think it's just incredible.
I want to give to that point. Everybody got all excited when they heard that Dylan Bell might get some snaps at running back.
Mm-hmm.
On Tuesday's show, we asked Coach Donnan about that, and he actually mentioned Mekhi Muse might also get some. And I'm like, what do you and I know because I talked to him pretty frequently. He hadn't been to practice. He hadn't there's no insider information there. He was just speculating on other guys that might line up in the backfield to get it. And on that Muse touchdown, didn't he line up in as a running back?
Yes, he did. I was just about
slid out to the slid outside, and then they tossed it to him. He took it 54 yards.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it was that beautiful distraction. Same stuff that Todd Monken did. There was like, the misdirection. I was like, well, he lines up as the running back, or he's the back in that formation. Then they move him out like they would do James Cook. They get it to him. Nobody to cover him. Tunnel screen, gone. Love that. Good play call. Great execution because nobody caught him.
Yeah, he was like you said, he's quick as a whip too. I think that year that he played his senior year, he played baseball. He led the team with like 50 stolen bases. They said they would just send him in to do like a sack munt, and he would beat out the play to first base.
Nice. What did Kirby say anything about the defense?
Someone asked him about it was a funny tidbit. Someone asked him about the Kyron Jones interception, and Kirby just said he's lucky. He got lucky. He's just right player, right time. He actually complimented the defense in another question. Someone asked him about obviously not having guys like Trayvon Walker, Jordan Davis, but he really highly talked up his defensive line and his offensive line too. I don't think they gave up a sack tonight, but he mentioned because I noticed that there were several times that there were six. It looked like there were 6 DBs on the field at one time playing nickel. He talked about that and how that's how they wanted to come out with some of these offense. I don't really know what I'm talking about schematically, but just kind of how like Dent and some of these guys would come out from UT Martin with a just kind of in a base offense, and he goes, they switched it up halftime, and then they started running dime and nickel packages up there in the second half, and he was real appreciative of how they were able to affect the quarterback in some of those plays.
Yeah,
there you go.
I thought a lot of it was scheme. We can complain about certain guys missing their assignments, if you will, drop passes, bad throws, missed block here and there. But sometimes it just comes down to your scheme versus their scheme. And you guess right.
Yeah.
Not a whole hell of a lot you can do about it. Go back to Missouri last year, Mississippi State. There have been times that Georgia has the scheme, the type of defense they play can give you grief, but it's very tough for them to guess right every time, and that's why you see those explosive plays. I think I might have hit on the prop bet. I need to go check that out.
Yeah, check that out because I forgot which one I picked.
Yeah, folks, we did something different at UGA Sports this year. We've always done like our score predictions, how well Georgia's going to win, lose, score prediction. This year we're picking against the spread, and we also had some prop bets. And I'm going to check and see how we did here because, so one of the prop bets was, will Georgia allow an offensive touchdown? They did, even though it shouldn't have been a touchdown. Did anybody ask Coach Kirby about that?
Ask about what?
I got Bobo in the brain. Did anybody ask him about that touchdown?
I don't think so.
He would have said he wouldn't have said anything. It would have been a wasted question. Okay, the over under Georgia will have 3.5 different players scoring a rushing touchdown.
Ooh, let's see.
That was the under.
That was the under, right? You had three. You had three different players. Yeah.
Oh,
that's tough.
Now, only 8 times in the Kirby Smart era has Georgia had 4 different players with a rushing touchdown in a game.
Wow. And 2 of the 3 in this game was not a running back. Carson Beck and Brock Bowers.
Yep. Over under, Georgia will have 1.5 touchdown receptions that are 50-plus yards. Georgia had 5 receiving plays that went for 50 or more yards last season and 3 that went for scores.
No, they only had two touchdowns total, and one was to Delt for 21 yards, so no. Right?
The Muse one was 54 yards.
Muse
Yeah,
was 54.
It's 1.5, right?
It's 1.5 is the line.
Yeah, so you got under that.
Okay.
Raw was 50. No.
Well, Raul, it wasn't a touchdown.
It was a touchdown.
Right.
yeah.
Damn it. I was
Yeah.
close.
What was the fourth one?
Georgia will score a special teams touchdown.
Oh yeah, no. That was an easy under.
We had a couple people pick that one.
Which one did I pick? I can't remember.
I think we deleted you from the thing. Paul predicted that Georgia would not cover. He's correct there.
Nice.
And he said you picked the under on Georgia will have 3.5 players score a rushing touchdown.
Boom, baby. Let's go.
You're right. But your rationale was there'll be too many touchdowns on passing plays.
It doesn't matter the rationale.
I do. I'm just kidding. You're right. So, hey, 2-0. Start off with 1.
Strong start there. Strong start there. We'll take it. Yeah, guys, if you haven't already, what Anthony and Greg are saying, hit that like button.
Wait, Paul,
what?
did anybody else besides me, you, Jason, I think Brent, pick the playoff in their Heisman for UJ Sports? Anybody else? Because me, you, Brent.
Lance did.
Oh, yeah, Lance did. I forget about that.
Roddy's not going to go on record for that.
I was on the run. I was on the run.
You can't. No, bullshit. You cannot pick Travis Hunter.
Too late. Already did it.
Hell no.
Too late.
You know what? I'll put you down. I'll put you down for that. I'll put you down for Travis Hunter. All right, and give me your 4-team playoff too.
I'll wait till we get closer to the playoffs.
No, I already gave you a pass on Travis Hunter. Give me your 4 teams, damn it.
God, I haven't even thought about that. I haven't been.
Oh, well, good. You got to pick them now. Good call, Ben.
I like talking about Georgia a little bit more.
No.
Give me a minute. Let me think about it. You guys, you thought about it on the spot.
Normally I do. Yeah.
I don't like doing chalk because there's one random team every year, like TCU, Cincinnati. There's gonna be a random team. There's just going to be.
Who is writing as the Georgia? Who is doing? Is this Dane? Hunter was plus 10,000 on DraftKings. He's dropped down to plus 4,000 now.
Good Lord.
Yeah, that's a significant drop. What is this? Paul is not always wrong, but he usually is. Anthony, go to bed. Go to bed. Give me your 4 teams, Roddy, and then it's 12:30. I don't know what else you want to talk about.
Oh, Jesus, 12:30.
Give me Michigan.
Okay.
They beat Ohio State, and I think one of those 2 has to get in just because of the hype around them. Give me USC.
Oh.
Okay.
Give me Georgia.
Okay.
And FSU. I'm not into the FSU hype thing.
I'm big into it.
I have them in as well.
They don't want 2 teams from the same conference. They don't want to see another Ohio State, Michigan in there. They don't want another Georgia, Alabama in there again. So Oregon, I could see Oregon in there, but an SEC team, a Big Ten team, an ACC team, and then of course wherever the hell USC is going to wind up, but they're Pac-12 this year, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And again, when you got a quarterback doing what he does against that schedule, when is the Oregon USC game?
You know what? I was just about that. You literally read my mind because I was
thinking
looking
if Georgia has a bad, if Georgia's playing somebody crappy that week, I need to go out there.
November 11th.
Where at?
Let's see. It's at
it is-
Oregon.
Is
in
at
Eugene.
Oregon.
Dan Lanning against that quarterback. That is going to be a match.
So this is a decent pick, Roddy. But I'm looking at USC's schedule. You might be kind of SOL here because they've got to go to Notre Dame. Then right after that, they've got to play Utah. Listen, I'm just telling you. Then they got to play Utah at home, and then they got Washington 2 weeks after that. Then they go to Oregon, and then they finish with UCLA. That's a tough little stretch.
Yeah, that is tough. I'm
Paul,
probably wrong.
Paul,
But hey, they got Bear now.
Yeah.
Paul, you know what's the crazy thing about our predictions? There's like over 10 different teams we picked. There's like three out of the
That's
SEC.
good. That is good for college
Three out of the
football.
SEC because I think me and someone else threw Penn State in, and then Ohio State, Michigan got picked. So there's 3 out of the Big Ten. Yeah, I think 3 out of the Pac-12 because I think Brent went Oregon, Eddie went Washington, and then Roddy just went USC. I think Roddy might be the first to pick USC.
I'm looking at it. Yeah, I think.
And then Texas. Jason's all in on Texas. Texas is winning the title. According to
I don't understand Texas.
I'm not a big Texas guy.
I mean, I'd be happy to be wrong. I'd love to see them, be relevant again, but I just don't see it.
I don't buy the Sark hype. I don't understand.
Anthony's got Texas as well. Anthony, give me your you call him to the show all the time, so I need your Heisman. Or did you already pick your
guy? Isn't Anthony's guy Drake May?
I got Anthony written down right here. Drake May. He just didn't give us his 4. So
if Drake May was on a good team, I'd pick him to win the Heisman.
He had a chance. Hey, look, he had a chance to go to a good team, and he didn't. He even said, I think what's his name? The head coach Mac Brown said, don't try to come get my players and offer them $2 million, dude. I would have taken that and ran.
I'll go back to Georgia here real quick. I want to point out what Alex Waller's saying. He says, I didn't see a lot of complaint about the calls. Many were just not executed. That would have worked fine. That is my number one gripe why we do not we'll give grades to Georgia's offense and offensive players, defensive players, even groups, O-line group, wide receiver group, whatever. And people say, why don't you grade the coaches? It's again, I'm not tight with these guys. I'm not buddies with them. I'm not friends. I have zero compunction about saying this coach is good, that coach is bad. What I do have a problem with is we don't know what was called. So we don't always know whether or not it was a execution issue or a bad call. Georgia gets down to, they're trying to score right before the half or whatever. They're run their 2-minute offense. They get down to the 3-4 yard line. The first ball is a run up the middle. Do we know if that was called, or were there 2 different calls there and the quarterback got you into the run? Yeah. And if he did and he guessed wrong, and because they can't hands the ball off, there's 2 guys to meet him. Now all of a sudden you got to spike the ball because you just wasted that down. Is that what Mike Bobo called? We don't know.
That's what I said.
Like, God damn it, Mike Bobo. I'm like, wait, whoa. We don't know.
Yeah. Trent was at the game, and he said that on that play, Beck never looked to the sidelines. You're talking about the call in the red zone, right?
Yeah.
He never looked to the sidelines.
They go flying up the field. And
Right.
we ignore the fact that Georgia gets the ball with 2 minutes left and zips right up the field like, they've been running the 2-minute offense their whole lives. This is his first time ever doing it. Pretty damn flawless. They get right up to the goal line. And then you have that play. Then, of course, you have to spike it because you don't have any timeouts. And then you try to go for the third down is a pass you can't complete, or it should have. Again, the pass that hits a guy, or you get a wide open Arian Smith. That's on your quarterback, but we'll blame Mike Bobo. And again, Mike and I are not tight. We're not buddies. We're not friends. But I want to call it like I see it. And I'm like, that was bad execution, just like Alex Waller saying there. So he said missed a wide open receivers and passes hit him in the hands. If you're a quarterback, it's your first game, you're like, man, come on, guys. I threw for 294. I could have 360 yards if you just catch the balls that hit you. Am I wrong?
He could have had another touchdown if he hit Arian Smith too. So I mean,
yeah, exactly. So that was on him, and that's why people are like, hey, again, he's supposed to be the most accurate quarterback.
Yeah, and then you saw Vandergrift hit that 56-yard pass. So there's going to be here's the thing, guys, and to kind of put on a little wrap up of this quarterback situation. Everybody's going to have their own opinions on it. Everybody's going to have their own opinions on Bobo. What the only opinion should matter is your team has won the last 18 games. They won 48-7. There was good things, bad things, but you were able to win by 41 points by the end of it. Like I said, so
and we're freaking out about it.
Right. So, and very much so. I mean, there was a time here for the first hour and a half, we were freaking out. Everybody in the chat. And, at the end of the day, you won 48-7. You've no big injuries. You walked away. Your starting quarterback damn near almost threw for 300 yards, and we're talking about potentially pulling him, which I was one of them that said, hey, should there be a quarterback competition this week? There's going to be a lot of talk about this game. This is the first game for Georgia. Radios are going to be filled with it. Everybody's going to overanalyze it. Sit back, relax, let Kirby do what he's got to do. He's going to put the best quarterback out there on the field. With that being said, Ball State comes to town next week. What is the line? I don't think it's as high as 50.
Oh, we're guessing the line?
Yeah, we're guessing. Yeah, it's not going to be out.
Yeah, I was searching. I was like, I think it's out.
No, it's not going to be out.
42.5.
Ooh, because
I'm going 45.5.
We do this every week, Roddy, and normally I'm pretty damn close. Not to toot my own horn, but
oh my God, you've never taken an opportunity to toot your own horn.
42.5.
I'm going to tell you from the waist up.
I'll go 45.5.
Your waist down.
I'll go up
45.5.
45.5, 42.5.
Go ahead, Lance. What you got?
I'm gonna go 41.5 under.
Oh,
I just don't see it being.
You're really close to Roddy's there. That's fine.
Yeah, no. I wanted to
usually.
Say,
I mean,
I wanted to say,
you
let me go 38. Let me get ballsy. 38.5.
Yeah, I mean that was my first thought.
You went 38.5
field goal.
Yeah, he went 38.5. I don't know.
That was damn it.
You're going that low?
That was going 38.5. Yeah, I was going 38.5. I should have just let him stay with his initial.
You can go 35.5 too, because I can also see that.
Yeah, I can't too.
I'm going 38.5. I don't see 40, but who knows? They put, just for reference, guys, for Ball State, they put up 14 points this week against Kentucky on the road. Let's do a quick little look at Ball State. What did they do? Oh,
it was 10. I know it was 10-7 early, and then Kentucky pulled away.
They had two quarterbacks. Their quarterbacks went 22 of 30 for 223 yards and a touchdown. They got, oh boy, Ball State can't run the ball, guys. 41 carries for 72 yards. That's averages out to 1.8 a game, or 1.8 a carry, excuse me. They did have 3 fumbles, so they kind of shot themselves in the foot here. Looks like they had an interception though, but yeah. So they're going to be passing against Georgia. Looks like their rushing attack is not great. If they're not able to run on Kentucky, they're definitely not going to be able to run on Georgia. So that's who comes to town next week. Roddy, I think I'm about out of content for you, my man. I don't know. You got anything else?
2.5 hours. You couldn't even get to 3 hours. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm struggling over here.
Well, we'll leave it with Lance. Lance, you have any other thoughts?
Overall, I don't. Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Roddy. I don't know why people were, kind of freaking out. I get it a little bit, but like you were saying, we don't know what Mike Bobo was calling, and there might have been some miscommunication on those throws too. But overall, a good game. Georgia cover. Is it 40? What was the line?
No, Georgia didn't cover. The
line
line
was like 50 something, right?
Yeah.
For some reason, someone told me before the Carson interview it was like 44. I was like, "There's no way." But
there was one line like that, but I think it settled back out at like 50.
Yeah, but I mean, overall defense was solid. No sacks tonight, but I mean, I think there may have been one, but the offensive line also didn't give up a sack. So I think next week, if Ladd, MRJ, and some of these other guys can come back, I think might get ugly next week. I watched a little bit of that Ball State game, and yeah, like you said, Paul, they couldn't run the ball. And Kentucky threw all over them. I think Leary was like 18 of 30. He wasn't perfect. He was like 18 of 31 for like 240 yards and a touchdown. And I think that new running back for Kentucky ran for about $115, 2 touchdowns. So I think, to be completely honest, even though it's an FBS opponent, it might be the lesser opponent in my eyes next week.
Very well could be. Hey, that was for what you were playing. Coach Simpson is really good at what he does. That's why he kept having to take timeouts, because he's basically trying to outthink them, trying to out-execute, trying to out-scheme them. And he did guess right a number of times. I say guess right. He called the right play.
I could see them winning 9 or 10 games in their conference. They're a pretty good team.
They've won the conference many times.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll leave you with this parting thought. Today is now it's 12:37. It is September 3rd. This is your 600th day as the Georgia Bulldogs being national champions. 600 days.
It's a long
in
time.
a row that the Georgia Bulldogs have been on top. Never thought we'd be doing that when we started this post-game overreaction show. We'd be talking about that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's changed a little bit since we started. That's for sure. We're overreacting to a 48-7 game, but I love it. It just shows.
Do you imagine, Paul? Do you imagine doing this in the Rick days? Doing these? Imagine doing these in the Rick days.
Oh boy. No.
I mean, you were talking about post-game overreaction.
Hey, you want to talk about? I have to go back to 2012 when you just had every defensive guy that you could think of drafted, right? Jarvis Jones, Kwame Gathers, Alec Ogletree. I mean, just they all come back. This is supposed to be the generational defense, and they couldn't get it done. Can you imagine how those shows would have been?
Boy. I was in college at the time. I mean, I was a senior at the time. Yeah, it would have been terrible.
Sean Williams on that group too?
Yeah, Sean. Yeah, I had classes with Sean.
Bakari Rambo?
Yeah, Bakari was there. Yeah.
Bakari Rambo was.
Yeah.
Damian Swan.
That 2017.
Damian Swan.
Yeah.
Imagine the beginning of the year, that 07 team, which by the second half of the year was the best team in college football.
Oh, yeah, but the way it started.
I think what was it? Was South Carolina or Tennessee the team?
It was both. It was a 12-7 loss to South Carolina, and then middle of the year, like 3 or 4 weeks later, the Tennessee loss was bad. It was like 35-0 at halftime.
Because that was Stafford's sophomore year.
Yes.
Because I mean, you look the second half of that season, they got better and better and better. So that's why Georgia's got this.
They're the most dangerous team in America at the end.
Ability now. I mean, I think they finished third. That was the LSU Notre Dame national? Oh, that national title was awful. Matt Flynn versus Notre Dame. That's atrocious. I mean, Georgia probably would have easily won that, but I think that's actually would have been to my point. Like with the quarterbacks, with this schedule and over the course of the season, you're going to get better. Last year LSU was the same team. Last year they had 2 losses, and they got killed by Tennessee. Lost a close one on Florida State. Then they killed Alabama. In the second half of the year, they were a dangerous team. Where at the beginning of the year, people thought they were going to be at the bottom of the West. So over the course of the year, I think Georgia's just going to get better, and the quarterback situation is going to improve. I don't know if they're going to be a Heisman or elite. Like Roddy said, I don't think that there's an elite, but there might be very good, and there might be improvements.
You can win when you have this defense, which is a much better defense than last year.
Yeah.
And a good offensive line, good stable running backs, good wide receivers. Alabama has won plenty of titles with a game-managing quarterback. A guy who just avoids mistakes, avoids turnovers. Hey, no turnovers, very few mistakes, some inaccuracies. But hey, Stetson Bennett always had 2 or 3 just in Kirby Smart's own words, boneheaded throws. Remember, he tried to hit a 10-yard screen, hit the guy in the feet. It's like, what are you doing? So Stetson had some bad throws, but he also had enough plays to make up for it. This one, look, just don't have bad throws. Just get them in the right play, and you got enough playmakers to win a title. We hope. Anyway, you ready to duck out?
Yeah, man. So, guys, we appreciate you so much for watching and hanging out with us for almost 3 hours here. We'll be back next week after the Ball State Georgia game. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like button on this video. It helps other Georgia fans find the video. And if you I know you already are, but if you're not, hit that subscribe button on the channel. We're closing in on 40K, guys, and we appreciate it so much. We will talk to you. We've got so many shows coming up on this channel, guys. We'll talk to you within the next 48 hours, I'm sure. So we'll thank for Riding to Bullseye, Ben Bachman, Lance, everybody else at UJSports.com, all of you guys that called in. I'm Paul Meharry. I thank you so much, and we will see you next Saturday.